Your hero, what level are you at right now?
It was 243. I just I chose it as the burning character. It was already like 235, but I forgot I don't
Mm-hmm.
play that much, so might as well just actually push one to 260.
Yeah, so you're more of a are you more of a seasonal player then, or?
Oh yeah. So I guess to give some context, like this
Mm-hmm.
character's been here for like I don't know over like 7 years now. I guess if every now and then, probably seasonal, but for the last few years I haven't really played.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time I played was before they made all these cube changes, and I noticed like some of my skills changed, like enrage changed, like
Mm-hmm.
rage itself got renamed to something else. Some
Yeah, yeah.
skills like
Was
double
that from the
dashing.
Destiny update, like big reworks and all the explorers? Yeah.
Okay, okay. Was that overall nerf or just kind of static for the hero?
No, it's pretty good changes for the hero. So basically, the main thing was in the past you had to kind of manage your combo orbs quite a bit, because
Yeah.
like your World Reaver needed a certain amount, and then certain skills like puncture and your debuff and stuff would like um, require a certain amount to activate every time. Now none of your skills like cost you combo orb to activate, so they will always just work, and you stay always on max. So they cut a little bit off of the top end, but because you never go below max combo orbs anymore, your damage is like way more stable, and there's no situations where you're like, oh, World Reaver is up, but I can't use it because I happen to go down in combo orbs and then die to dumb shit. So that's not going to happen anymore. You'll
Okay.
always be able to use it whenever it's off cooldown.
I didn't
Um,
even notice that. You're right.
yeah, and then the debuffs have been simplified a little bit, so that you have one, like the one of the debuffs you apply still to the boss, right? But the other one is just a buff you give to yourself, and then your attacks apply the debuff. So there's one fewer that you have to like keep weaving in every time to make sure that the debuff is still on
That's
the
just
boss that you're attacking.
and that's just puncture, right?
Yeah, is it still
Or
named
is there another
puncture?
debuff?
Yeah, one is puncture, and then one is like a buff you give to yourself.
Right. Okay.
Scarring sword or
Burning
something.
sword. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that one does the other debuff. So it's not like that you have to give them directly, because sometimes what happens, especially if you have bosses that have like multiple forms, every time it switches to a different form, it becomes a different boss, and then you have to reapply the debuffs
You
again.
apply.
So now every single time you only have to just apply one again, as long as you keep your other buffs up instead of having to do two every time.
Oh, right. Panic is no longer here. I didn't even notice that.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, to get back to what I was saying. Yeah, I guess I could be considered seasonal, kind of like every
Mhm.
summer winter event. I don't always make a burning character.
Mhm.
Um, but right now, I think the goal I'm trying to get is. So I think there's a lot of like low hanging fruit for my character.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of inefficiencies for sure. Like the links aren't properly managed. My hyperstats are all over the place. I don't have any presets.
Mhm.
Your ability's kind of whack.
Okay.
The V Matrix up until actually literally yesterday, I had Raging Blue Boost at like level 6. I've used like hundreds of nodes trying to get at least one of these like perfect tri nodes, and I just couldn't.
Mhm.
But I found two that I think are better for bossing. I don't know. So, anyways, I added these, and I tried Lotus. My goal originally was gonna be like I want to do normal Lotus and Damien. I have about like 18k strength, so I didn't
Mhm.
realize that's easily doable. I tried yesterday and I actually did it.
Mhm. Okay.
So what I'd like to eventually do is uh, kind of have like be able to do like an easy Lotus, or at least like Chaos Slime, or not Chaos Slime, sorry, like normal slime, but like the summertime. I don't know if that's
Normal
achievable or
slime, and
not.
then into easy lucid.
Yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
And right now I'm
Yeah.
trying to do Damien and Ketchy. I don't know if they're around the same difficulty or not. But,
Catchy's like, so if you check how familiar are you with my commands and stuff, with the information I have on my channel?
like the command's not as much.
Okay. So I've got like a bunch of different commands basically to try to get all the information that is in this game, which is way too much, right? To try to get it all a little bit more condensed down to, uh, more bite size, or more, to get like a better overview. So basically what I did with the dailies command is kind of looking at all of the content that exists in the game that I think is worth your time, and around which levels I think it's worth your time, to kind of like stack that so that you don't have to look too much into every single quest that exists in this game, because that's, hundreds, thousands probably. So you can have a little bit more of a poignant overview of like, okay, I just did this boss. You know, what's the next type of content? What's the next boss that would logically follow? That's like the next level up, basically, the next higher level difficulty. There's another part in the game that kind of does this as well. If you have the regular guide in the game, if you have that one open and then you look at the boss content tab there, because the guide has been completely redone as well. It's a lot better now. So it's got like all of the areas, recommended quests, recommended hunting zones and stuff, and some extra rewards as well that are one time per account. And then teleportation on the bottom as well, which is very useful. You can like customize which maps you put in there so that you can, you know, get to them very quickly. You don't even have to have a rock to go to these maps, just like 10-second wait time or something.
Okay.
So that's pretty useful. But if you check the boss content one, you can also see there, you know, you can see all the drops of the bosses when you click on them, but you can also see them in ascending order of like difficulty and kind of see where they roughly place in terms of difficulty. It's not 100 to 100, right, because this is in Korea. Once you get higher up and you get into like Will and Vihila and stuff like that, then it's a little bit different for us because of we have familiars with large healing that can bypass the healing restrictions of these bosses. So therefore for us they're a lot easier than what their intended design was in Korea. But for the most part, for all the other bosses, it's pretty much the same. And I guess if you click on the more higher level difficulty bosses, you also start seeing those little boxes. So the green boxes at first, and then they turn into red boxes, into black boxes, and then into white boxes. Those have the rings that used to be in Tower of Oz. Those are in there now.
Oh, shit. Okay. I guess we can't get 4 until the... Oh, it says right here, level 1 to 4.
Yeah, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 on the red boxes. So yeah, you're gonna be able to get some green boxes already, but these are also affected by drop rate. So, and drop rate is also, because of this, is probably one of the most important stats in the entire game now. And it's definitely more if you're trying to play for the long term that you want to get your drop rate floor, your bases like super early, so that you can make sure that all the other progress stacks normally. If you're more of a seasonal player, you probably want to go a little bit more the damage route so that you can make some swift progress, you know, with the limited time that you have. Because then, you know, when you're not playing anymore, all of that drop rate that you invested in is just going to be sitting there. So if you don't know yet if you're going to come back, if it's going to be, you know, 6 months or in 2 years, you don't want to have as long of a long-term vision for that, right? So that might be a little bit different for you.
Well, let's assume like I'm gonna try and dedicate like 9 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like with that in mind, I'd like to be able to get like 2 mules to CRA level at least by the summer, and then this guy doing like normal slime-ish.
Okay.
If that's possible. So like I guess I'd ask like what I would need to do, or like what I should prioritize or focus on between, I don't know, arcane symbols, stats, like what kind of potential lines.
Yeah,
I know
for sure.
Starforces are also all over the place. Well, they used to be at least.
Mm-hmm.
Even some of this gear, like I got some Tyrant equips on. I just couldn't find anything else to replace it with.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Tyrant gear. So I'm a big proponent of looking at where you want your character to be and what you want your character to do to be like the first question, and then based on that, look at like how much time do you have available, and then based on that, look at like, so what do you want to make, right? A lot of people are basically start immediately. You'll see other sessions with other people and they'll start immediately like, okay, you need everything 22 and you need to be full this because you need to be doing Kalos, right? Like that's not for everyone. That's not realistic.
Being realistic, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're doing more like step by step and you don't want to make any huge over investments, but you also don't want to miss out on like important stuff that could help you down the road, I'll get you sorted for that. So the daily schematic is definitely one that you can use just to kind of track where you are with bosses and just see what the next one is. So you did it also has links to like all of the bosses in the game, so you can get more details on them, drop tables, their HP, their PDR, all of that stuff. It's all like external links.
That's on your Twitch, or?
Yeah, so in the Twitch chat, basically, there's like the bots are programmed to like give all the information. So this one's under !dailies, but if you do !weeklies or !bosses or something, it also triggers the same command. So there's a bunch of alternative names I've programmed as well, so that they bring up the same information. Yep. So Limina, you were in the 240s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're like around...
I think I also have a lot more IED than I need to right now, at least for the bosses that I'm killing, and a lot less boss damage than would be ideal.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Easy Lucid's here, Slime is here. Yeah, they're around the same level, so I put them into the 240 range. It's a little bit hard to gauge, of course, right? Because people, level at different paces. Especially in the beginning, if you're doing a burn, then your level goes very quickly, but then your damage might not.
Yeah.
But if you have an existing character, then your damage might be exceeding the level, right? So it's not a perfect science, but it's around that mark, around that, like 235 to 245 mark, where those bosses are all working up towards like normal will. So you're
Is that like party or solo?
basically once you start shifting from like slime into lucid, it kind of goes from solo into party. But party there meaning usually like 3 to 4 men. I think 3 to 4 men is like ideal for most bosses, because if you get more than 4 people, it gets very chaotic and it becomes harder to communicate everything. And if you are fewer than 3 people, then you're basically people who can probably solo, but that takes too long. So you just want to get a faster run, so you duo it with someone, kind of situation. So I think 3 to 4 is like a good amount to like practice and to be able to keep a hand on the mechanics. And also, because a lot of bosses have teleportation, right, where they teleport onto a random target. And if you have six people all over the place, the boss becomes very erratic. And then it's easy to start missing damage, missing attacks, getting hit like sideways by things that you didn't see coming. But like 3 or 4 people is a good size. And then once you're getting into the really like late game and end game bosses, then it's basically expected to always have a 6-man from the get-go. And then you just kind of go as, wow, this run is really fast, but we don't want to do the high level difficulty, but we're going to like break up the party. Because another thing is the boss crystals. Are you familiar with that system?
Yeah. I guess it's shared, so it's not as worth.
Yeah, exactly. Like it gets cut by the amount of members, but they did add a like anti-carry thing. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, like the colors of the orbs.
No, I didn't know they're different colors. I just thought it was like 5% damage where you don't get anything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's represented here. If you open up the boss display HP in the party, there will be an orb here with different color depending on the percentage of damage you've done, right? So if you do carry, like hard carry someone and they don't get to 5% damage, they'll have a red or like orange ready orb there. And then at the end, even if they do make it to the end, they won't count as a party member, so your crystal won't go down from their value essentially.
Oh, okay.
But then they don't get any loot. Like you open a box and just nothing comes out. The only thing that can come out is quest items, and the boss will still count as a clear for them. So in terms of special events, like right now where you have like weekly coins, the wind coins that you can get, those will still get wind coins because they still survive the run and were in there, but they won't get the drops from the boss itself. And the other neat thing that this can do is, this is a little bit too far for you, but like for Black Mage, because Black Mage progress and liberation of your weapon, your Genesis weapon, it goes with the quest item that drops from the Black Mage. You can just, if you can survive the Black Mage run, but you don't do 5%, you won't get anything at the end. But the quest item will still drop, and you can still progress your weapon liberation and support. Bring some damage to the party, to the attacker, without taking away the value from their crystal. So that's actually a cool interaction that comes with that.
Alright.
But that's the other thing, like if you go for a really big party, there's also more likelihood that 1 or 2 people are quite a bit stronger than everyone, and then they do a larger portion of the damage, and it might be harder for you to get the blue orb, right? So if you do 3 to 4 man and everyone's kind of like on the same level, that's also more clean, because then you don't have to worry about the extra stress of like, I need to get a lot of damage in here, otherwise I don't get any rewards, because that might lead you to doing more risky things than you would like to do, and then that leads to death, and that leads to failure. So it's good to look for people around your level. They've got the whole boss search function stuff.
That.
Yeah, have you looked into that a little bit on how that works?
I didn't try it yet, but I mean, I guess if it's the same as any other MMO, then probably simple enough to figure out.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. There's usually not that many parties, but there's just like a lot when the weekly reset happens for the bosses, right? Like people who want to run quickly, or like people who want to run last minute, and then mainly on weekends when people have more time available. That's usually when you'll see the most parties available. And then not around 7 a.m. on Eastern time, but that's usually not the most crowded bossing time. Yeah, so you can keep this as like a general guideline of like, okay, I did this boss, what's the next one on the list? There's a few ones that are like critical in terms of like being more time gated and stuff. So like Gollux, working yourself up to Helix is pretty important to get that superior gear. But we can go into a little bit more detail. I guess I could talk for hours about all the stuff that have changed in the last 2 years. So some of that you've seen, some of that you have not seen. The main question of what you were getting to is another command that I have called progression, where I made a big adjustment because of the last change, because of 6th job coming out essentially, and because the hyperburn going all the way up to 260, where I basically try to keep track of like all of the metrics that I think matter in the game, and how you want to roughly be scoring in these metrics so that you can basically connect it with the daily so that you can do that content around that level.
Okay.
So this command tries to keep track of that. So again, the beginning, it used to be like up to 175, and then from 175 up to 210, and then from 210 up to, and now it's like just because of hyperburn and because of going up to 300 and the amount of content, it's really smushed together that like early game is just up to 260 essentially, and then you start, then this is like the tutorial, and then the game kind of starts, which is not particularly helpful if you're more struggling that early on. But you want to look at like these are like the numbers of where you want to get to by the time you reach that 260 and what you want to be actively working on if you don't have that yet. So these are like rough benchmarks for everything. Again, it's not like if you don't reach one of these that you're gonna suck, and if you do reach all of these that everything is gonna die in one hit, right? There's still a lot of mechanical skill involved, and technical ping and stuff like that, of course, is an issue as well.
Player skill and all that.
Yeah, practice is always going to be the best value, right? You can take someone with only like 60% of the damage, but if they have good mechanical skill and they know the boss inside and out, they'll be able to do better than someone with 2-3 times the damage. You can give me a fully decked out World of Warcraft character and I'll die to like the level 1 boss, right? That's just one click because I have no idea what to do. So you'll see I kind of wrote them in order in terms of like priorities as well. So level is just a good indicator because of the final damage multiplier on reboot and because of stuff related to that, access to areas, access to bosses, right? So meso obtain and drop rate are pretty high up there, especially once it comes to your first character. You want to be able to make money for your character. You need to get drop rate so that you can get backups and stuff like those ring boxes that I mentioned before, things like that. And then, especially once you get into 260 into the mid game, and then you have to get drops, kind of like the nodes drop. For 6th job, you have these fragments that drop. And then those are per character, those aren't transferable. So every one of your character will have to get drop rate, but not necessarily every one of your character will have to get meso obtain. Maybe the first 2 do, right? But after that, probably not. Because, like you mentioned before, like those bossing mules, you want basically a lot of your income to come from those, so that your characters can freely roll their equip more for damage and for drop rate. And the money just rolls in more, well, not statically, you have to work for it, but more statically from the other characters that are funded on the side. What I like to do for bossing mules is I like to basically fund them with their own drops, because people like to look a lot at just the value of the crystals and be like, this character makes this much, but what about all the cubes, all the flames, all the drops that you get, right? Those are value as well. And I usually like to just let characters sit where they sit, and if I see an opportunity, either you get a bunch of drops, or there's an event, or money just doesn't make you as big a gains on your main character anymore, and you could make way bigger gains on side characters, then I'd like to really look at spending that money on a side character instead. Like, is it going to significantly make the position of that character better, right? Is it, again, like, what is the function of the character gonna change to being able to do different bosses, being able to do them quicker?
I get that. Like, if I have 5 bell and it only changes like 6% instead of my main, I might as well spend it on the mule if I can move up a level on boss or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm always looking for functional upgrades there. Like, is it going to give me access to new stuff, right? Am I going to be able to grind faster? Are you going to be able to kill bosses significantly faster or more bosses than you could before? Because you have to put the cutoff somewhere. If you just put the cutoff on, is my damage going to go up? Then you're never going to be done, because your damage will always kind of go up, right? So it's that's not as good a metric. So I like to always look at functionally, like, is this going to bring my character to position not only where it can be, but also where I want it to be, right? Because the game is also always going to be pushing you in terms of just doing more and getting access to more. But why does it do that? Not because it wants to give you more stuff, but because it wants you to play longer, right? So
Right.
you always have to be the arbiter that checks in, like, okay, I can do all these things, but, you know, like, people will come into my stream is like, why aren't you doing the higher level difficulty of the boss with this character? It's like, well, I know it can do it, but I don't want to do like a 12-minute run on like this character every week where I can just do like a 30-second run. Because if I do it on this character, well, these other 4 characters can also do that. So now I'm going to feel mentally obligated to do like Hard Lotus, extra 10 minutes, and Hard Damien, extra 10 minutes on 4 characters. Now I'm like locked in for an extra hour and a half every week that I don't want to do. So I draw the line before that so I can keep myself safe from like a slippery slope kind of thing, right? I don't want to slide down this like where I want to be the one playing the game, and I don't want the game being the one to play me. That's basically always what I fall back onto. So if you look at these metrics, there's probably some where you're like, oh, I've already got this. This is good. And probably a few where you're looking like, oh, I'm like way behind on this. I don't know if right now, because they added attack power as well to the stat window. I don't know if you saw that. That's a more recent addition.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that. Yeah, okay, so yeah.
So you can kind of
Yeah,
keep
I
track
noticed they
of,
added the
you know,
source of all the stats, which is really useful.
Yep. And in another 6 months, like when the new update hits, or even before the new update, there's going to be a big revamp on the UI again, where they'll add a bunch more stats, a bunch more detail, and also you'll be able to click other people and see all of their stats as well. Plus, you'll be able to see all their equips and link skills and legion and all that stuff as well. So you'll be able to compare better with other people, and see way more cool stuff on like how, you know, not necessarily if someone else is like, oh, they're doing way more damage. Well, now, yeah, you can see your level and then your legion and your dojo rank and stuff, and it's like, wow, yeah, that doesn't really tell you anything on how they do that, right? But then maybe if you click, you can see more of these stats, more of these relevant stats, and be like, oh, this is where all the damage is coming from. Like your boost node levels, for example, right? Or your skill node levels. Someone can be the same level as you, but it could be their 4th character, and it could be your 1st, and they could have everything maxed out at level 60, and they're just going to hit way harder. So that'll give, in the future, that'll give way more insight. Are there any things here, any topics here that you feel like you need more background on before, you know, we get into
functional? I just assumed that you mean like if it's inclusive of like skills that add the effect but don't show up on the stat window. What do you mean by like when you say functional?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So most of the time it's either boss debuffs or specific skill buffs, and the stat window only shows any skill hitting any target as like the base number, and then those bonuses that you mentioned, so boss debuffs or skill individual buffs, those are applied afterwards. So you can imagine, like, for example, Dual Blade is a good example where they have rather low visual IED, but they have 2 skills that do a lot of their damage that add 100% IED, so they will hit like true damage no matter how much you have. And they also have like the 2 other attacking skills they have. One adds 30%, and then another 30%, and then another 20% if you build a hyperstat, and then another one, the other one has 40% built in. So even though your visual IED is a bit lower, your functional IED is essentially going to be way higher because of those things always applying, or like to most of the hits that you're doing when you're bossing. So it's important to read your kit and know your class to know what visual number are you actually aiming for, right? Because 85 on a Kana is not the same as 85 on a Dual Blade, for example. Those are like the most extreme differences, essentially.
Okay. Then the ones off the boost nodes, like when you're the passives at level 20 and 40, do those get counted towards the stat window, or?
Technically, yeah, but since everyone has those, we kind of take those for granted and don't count those specifically. But like you said, they don't count towards the stat window because each and every individual boost node only accounts for that individual skill when it gets hit. So the stat window, but that's only the boosted skills, right? Not like the 5th job skills, for example. So it can't count it in the stat window. That'll mainly be like passive. Like if you're a hero, you've got that 4th job skill, right? That gives like 50%. That one is just like your character gets 50%. Everything you dish out, no matter what you hit, that gives you 50%. So that gets calculated into the IED. But remember, 50% is not, you know, if you have 40% and you add a 50% line, it doesn't go to 90, right? It adds, the percentage line that gets added is always that percent of how much you're missing to get to 100. So if you
Yeah,
had
yeah.
40 and you
Unadditive.
you had 50, yeah, you had 50 of the 60 that you're missing, which is 30, so you go from 40 to 70. So that's why you get those diminishing returns. But the boss's defense gets progressively higher, so IED does maintain its value, and that's why you do see that number going up. The bosses at these stages here have 380% armor. So if you're only blocking 90% of 380%, you're still left with oh, great mathematical example for me. So you leave 30. That leaves 38% defense, right? Which would mean that you only do 62% of your total damage. So the 38% final damage cut, which would be way too much, right? Because then everything else here has to work super hard to make up for that loss. So this takes into account which sources are available, how expensive are those sources, the comparative advantage between the sources, and how they would affect your final damage output. All of that is calculated in to make sure that you have a balanced progress within your account, so that you're not going overboard on anything, and you're also not forgetting about a stat that will actually help you gain more damage.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to keep this compact. There's probably like 10 other things I could throw in here, which would make it too convoluted. It's probably already a little bit too much, a little bit too many numbers.
Well, I mean, all the basic stuff I can just Google. Like, I don't need to waste your time with that. As far like most of these systems, I think I have a fairly good understanding of it. It's just, I'd say like where specific stats should be at, which ones are priority, like which ones I could sink more mess over time into.
Yeah,
those are kind of the areas where I just like there's just a bunch of random stuff everywhere.
No, I get it. So these are more. This is more like the general, the skeleton, I guess, of the conversation of what we'll be talking about. And again, like all of this has like information here as well, and mostly it's like linked to other commands that I have in my chat with like more information. Sometimes it'll be YouTube videos, sometimes it'll just be like a post on like a wiki. Sometimes it'll be a little like another grid that I've made with information on it, and all of it will stay internally consistent, just like like the dailies and the progression. Like it keeps the same level milestones here as well. You see early game, oh, that goes up to here, then mid game, late game, end game, and that has like these lines going through it just to stay consistent. Because here on the bottom you have like a little bit of a breakdown on like what is a good goal in the early points of this game, like what are you looking at, and like what is the end goal. So like you can see here like towards 260, especially on a newish character, normal slime, and then hard solo, and then hard lucid, hard will parties. That's a good goal to go towards once you want to like end this stage and like kind of graduate to the next stage essentially. So you can kind of keep those in mind, and that'll be consistent with these bosses here on the dailies grid as well. So we can kind of go through the screenshots, and I can say like if something jumps out at me like, hey, this is like really different, and then if you need more background, we can go into that briefly, and if it's more if you have like absolutely no idea, then we can go into it a little bit more detailed, I guess. Well, you mentioned since we look at the set window, you mentioned the inner ability. How are you feeling about inner abilities and everything?
Oh, so like I mean, I don't know if they also made a change to the attack speed cap, but I remember, I think it was the case that this is a little while back, but it was like the max potential would be one-handed sword, shield, and then inner ability, attack speed. I don't know if like the cap change or if two-handed sword is just better now. I also know like my shield isn't 22 stars, so that's probably irrelevant anyway.
Yeah, the shield. So you can only go up to 20. Yeah, so the shields only go up to 20. So they end up losing out later. But because of the multiplier of two-handed versus one-handed, yeah, they just don't win. So essentially, we go. I like going for one-handed first, but I wouldn't go for shield. It's normal to have a shield from back in the days, though. But because we eventually shift to two-handed, and even with two-handed, you have a secondary weapon, but you've got like the the standard orb thingy that cannot be Starforced. I like going for one-handed and the already the going for secondary, so just like the standard one in the beginning up to epic or something, that's fine. Work on princess no secondary, switch in for that one, and then get that one into legendary. You lose a little bit of stat compared to the shield, but because with the one-handed sword you keep up the attack speed with a green pot with decent speed infusion in the V matrix, you keep up the max attack speed, and that leaves open your inner ability for things like item drop rate and things like meso obtain. And I like that a lot, especially early on. And you can see in progression grid here that meso obtain at that drop rate is like the first line there that's important right after the level, right? Even before main stat, before critical rate, that's what you want to be looking at. Getting drop rate and getting meso obtain. And getting that from your inner ability is one of the important steps to get that. Eventually, you go for the two-handed, and then once you get to the two-handed, you do want to get that attack speed +1. So I want that to come at a point where you've already gotten a good value from your inner ability by that time. So for most people, that isn't going to be until like 260 or maybe after that. So essentially, the first weapon that you get as a two-handed for most people now is just going to be the arcane weapon. And everything up until there, you can just use one-handed. So basically, don't invest more into the secondary. You can see where it's at. That's a lot of IED, yeah. We'll probably re-roll that for some damage, just to get the value out of it that you already have in there, because it's already legendary, right? That's a high upfront investment cost. So I guess to go into that a little bit when it comes to the cubing, if you have any item that's rare, I would say always use like used to be occult cubes, now mystical cubes. Always use those to roll at least 3% stat. If you go up to epic, I would say always roll at least 6% of your main stat. Or if it's, you know, a WSE, roll like 6% attack, right? Or magic attack, whatever it is. If you go up to unique, I would always try to go for like 1.5 line, especially if it's accessories, because they have a higher chance of rolling the stats that you want. So I'd always try to roll like 12% or something. So like the shoulder here being 15 at unique, like that's great. And then if it goes to legendary, then I would always roll for 2 stats that are worth using, that are good. So like with the top here, this legendary, but it has 12%. I'd rather this be like 12% on unique, because it would give you the same damage, but it would be cheaper because you wouldn't have to pay the upfront cost of tiering it up, right? So that's how you can make sure that you're like capitalizing on the tier that you're in, and also how you can think about like, should I be tiering this up? Well, when you tier it up, do you have the money to commit to that tier and to spend those more expensive cubes and roll for that potential that would be worthy of that tier? If you don't, then don't tier it up yet, because then you can't commit to it yet, right? Then just spend that money on other places first, and then you can always circle back later. So that's kind of how I think about the potential tiers. But there's, of course, a hierarchy in, you know, other games tend to have this thing where you need to have all of your equips and you need to have all of them upgraded. For MapleStory, there's very much like a hierarchy of like, these items impact your damage way more than these other ones, and you want to disproportionately spend the money on these items versus these other items. So like weapon, secondary, and emblem, there's a reason why they're always mentioned like that, is because they'll be a bit more expensive, but they'll impact your damage way harder. Like this emblem, right? The amount of damage this emblem potential brings is probably like the same as like 6 or 7 other items combined. But it's way less than 6 or 7 times the cost, right? So it's way more cost efficient to upgrade this one. So that's already a good thing that you've got this one upgraded way past that point. So we want to look at the other ones that can do that, like the weapon and the secondary, and milk those for the same kind of damage that we're looking for, while already respecting the investment that you've made in them. So with all that said, we're going to look at the other stats. So for inner ability, we were talking about inner ability, right? Circle back.
Right. So drop rate is okay for now, then. Essentially, is
yeah, so I like drop rate. If you have drop rate and meso obtain, that's great. There's another thing with inner ability, and right now in Korea, they finally added inner ability presets, so we can have up to 3 inner abilities, and you'll be able to switch between them and then roll them independently. Of course, you know, this means more honor EXP sync, but it also means more value to honor EXP in the late game and in the end game of what you've saved up. So for now, it's probably a good idea to just save up all your honor EXP and work towards arcane weapon. Well, first Absolab weapon, right? And then towards arcane weapon.
Yeah.
And once you've got that one, and then look at, you know, look at the honor EXP situation, look at, do you want to make a new inner ability and just roll there. You know, want to have like 2 situations, one where you go for more damage when you're bossing, so you just roll attack speed +1 on the top line, maybe even with circulators, and then just have that for bossing, and then when you're mobbing, maybe just stick to the one-handed that you have in the shield. If that's enough to kill, then you can keep killing like that and rely on the item drop rate and the meso obtain. Or if you have a whole lot of honor experience by then, maybe you can make inner abilities that better fit. Yeah. Ideally, you have just one really good functional inner ability that right now, right, that helps you in both situations. Like I can show you for my Buccaneer right now. My Buccaneer has 8% damage when attacking targets that are debuffed, and which is basically 100% of the time all bosses all the time now. So it's basically just 8% damage. The only alternative here would be 10% boss damage, but my best in slot is to have 20% boss damage here, and you can't have the 20% boss damage and the 10% boss damage equivalent on the same inner ability, because they're like the same type of line. That doesn't work. And then 21 attack, so this guy just wants full-on attack. So right now I have item drop rate here because I want this guy to be a boss mule, but there's a few more drops I want on this guy. Specifically, I want a slime ring on this guy. So once I do get a slime ring, I know that it's going to be a guaranteed 20 star because I'm just going to transfer hammer and I'm okay to settle with 20 star. So as soon as I hit that, I'm going to re-roll that top line, roll it for boss damage, and then, you know, be like set. And then I'll have enough honor XP by then. I can lock these in and then I'm done with that. So for every character, I got like kind of a little bit of a plan of like what I get. But that plan can shift depending on what you roll, right? Because it is random. So you have to kind of be flexible there, but you have to know your general direction. So for interoperability, I've also got a command on like how do you go there, what is the approach, how you can save money on that, and how you can spend your honor EXP in an effective way, and what is the end game interoperability you want to go to. But make sure that, just like with equips, that you don't look at the end interoperability and be like, this is the only thing that's worth keeping, right? For some classes, some lines are just going to be high priority, and everything else is just handy to get. But you'll see for a lot of times, if you can hit some Mesoptane, you can hit some item drop rate, that can be a lot of good value for a while, and then maybe you just build up honor EXP again until you're like, okay, now I don't need the Mesoptane anymore, I've got the boss mules. Or now I don't need the item drop anymore, I've got all the drops I need, which, spoiler alert, that's never going to happen because you'll always need more drops because this game is, you're here forever, right? But then the other interoperability setup will come up and you'll be like, oh, maybe I just switch over and use a mobbing one, you know? So there's going to be a little bit more flexibility there, so yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, then let's see if I can keep the...
You mentioned Arcane or Absolab.
Yeah.
Because everything's, like you said, everything's kind of much, like all these things are now considered early game, like even Absolab from what I'm getting at. Is it worth switching over to Absolab set and then like transfer hammering all the Fafnir stuff and then going to Arcane, or just I kind of sit on the Fafnir until I'm able to get some lucid kills in for the Arcane?
It's probably going to be like because it's such an amalgamation of like different generations of playing. It's probably going to be like a case-by-case basis to see. I like to go by the strengths of the pieces that you already have and the investments that already made. See if you can make some small tweaks on existing things and have them then work for you with like path of least resistance kind of things towards where you want to go. So I mean, I happen to be logged into my my Buccaneer. My Buccaneer is a decent example as well, because you can see some items here are like best in slot endgame things, and then some items are like, you know, there's some Tyrant stuff here, but there's an arcane glove as well and an arcane weapon, but there's also still a horntail necklace here. You know, this guy is a little bit of a combination of a lot of stuff as well, but this guy works, right? Because if I get drops, then I commit and then I try to make a better piece. And if I don't get drops, well, then I don't have to really push on that piece as much because I know what the position of this character is and where I want this character to be. If you are making your main and eventually you just want to get, you know, be the very best like no one ever was, TM, then you have to always push everything. But if you know where you want to go and something goes very well, you get a really good potential, or it tears up quickly, or, you know, you get lucky on Starforcing, whatever, which that shouldn't happen because that means you're gambling something that you shouldn't, but that's we'll get into that. Or you get a bunch of drops, right, that you at a higher rate than you're expecting. Then for some people that means, well, now everything has to go harder because it has to reach up to the level of whatever was the luckiest thing. But the way I look at it, well, if you get really lucky at something, that means that the other stuff you don't have to push as hard because the other thing is overcompensating for it. So you don't have to venture into inefficiency, into higher risk, because you don't need that damage anymore. It would be still cool to have it, and you can always do it later eventually, you know, once it comes up as the next logical step. But instead of it pushing you further, getting really lucky on something, I see it as giving you a free pass to not have to worry about the damage as much on a character.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like my vision. So if you're looking at your items, I would just look at we can go through them really quickly and be like, what is like the short-term stuff that you can do to make a lot of gains to like clean up your account compared to where it is now, and then set you up with like short-term and long-term specific goals so that you can be ready to make the next upgrades and get to the next steps and see which ones those are. That sound good?
Yeah, sounds perfect.
Okay, so going through your stuff here. Yeah, so you mentioned the ID is high. We'll see that. Your crit rate is at 100%. Is it over 100% or at 100%? And make sure that when you're checking current event buffs as well, because that's temporary critical rate.
Right. Pretty sure it's over 100%. That's including event buffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's like 102 or 105, it's no big deal. But if it's like 120, then we need to look at something, right?
No, it's just a few over. I remember thinking it was less, because I guess Enrage used to give crit rate, I'm pretty sure, but I remember seeing it less, and I adjusted some hyperstats and whatever else to get back up to 100 fully buffed.
Yeah, the archer, the explorer archers together give crit. That all you can find under !Legion or !Links. That also links to the same thing, where I have all of the link skills and all of the Legion buff of all of the characters. So you can see at every tier, at every interval, at every level, how much they give of which stat. So this will help you in prioritizing how to build out your Legion and which characters to pick.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen this one before, actually.
Yeah, this one has changed a little bit. Like, the order's changed a little bit, but this one's been around for a while, yeah.
Okay. So I'll just take a look at the order. It was sort of, kind of, ordered of importance, each row?
Yeah, exactly, because basically I just ordered the stats in terms of, like, how important they are for most, if not all characters, and then basically ordered them in terms of how much they give to that. So that kind of organically gave the order of, like, this is what will have the best value for your account, compounding like a snowball, basically rolling down the hill, right? So that you can, every effect will augment with the next one multiplicatively and make sure that the whole Legion moves forward stronger. It might not be the best buff for your main at that time, but it'll be the best buff that your Legion, your upcoming Legion members after it will need to get the level. Because that's one of the silent killers in the game, or one of the silent values that kind of get overlooked in all of it. In Legion is a lot of people talk about the member bonus and the grid bonus, and that's great, but the Legion coins are actually insanely valuable, and those need to be respected. And building up Legion coins and getting access to the coupons, especially the drop rate coupons, which, you know, you can imagine if, you know, you can have all the damage in the world, but you are limited by how many weekly bosses you can kill. So once you can kill the boss, you need to get as much drop rate as possible to get value on the kill. So if you can augment the drop, if you can double up your drop, that it's essentially like you're getting the value of 2 bosses drops in 1 week while you're only killing 1, right?
I never thought about it like that, but that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, that's why drop rate is so insanely valuable, because it values your time, not just in amount of hours, but in amount of weeks and in about amount of months and amount of years, right? That's why it's such an important stat. So that's why getting those Legion coins up and running quickly, so you can rank up your Legion, get that Legion raid power up, and then get some exorbitant amount of coins, so you just have like 60,000 in the bank, so you can buy whatever you want at any time. That's a good situation to be in. But it's a stat right here, right? Legion raid power, so that's the level of your characters, and their Starforce as well. Starforce is of lesser importance. Only worry about the Starforce once you get to level 200, I would say. And then if you're going to aim for Starforce on the characters at level 200, aim for at least 120, I would say. Because every 60, they get like a little bit of a peak in the value of all their Starforce. That's a little side information for you there. But yeah, a good idea is just to slowly work on getting some accessories on there, right? Doing those low-level bosses, doing like the Zakum, the Horntail, those kind of things, the Ping Bean. And then if there's ever a 1+1 event, 1+1 star forcing event, then up until 12 stars, you get 2 stars for every 1 that you succeed. So for half the cost, you'll be able to get them to that star force amount of like around 12 on every equip, and it'll be a very cheap way of increasing your Legion raid power. So I guess that's connected to the events. We keep circling around what you're trying to get to, but I swear we're going to get to it. That's how you look at the events, because I got like the event calendar, right? This is an important tool, especially if you're not super regular player, to kind of keep get an eye immediately for like, okay, what week are we? What kind of events are going on? This week is gone now, so I'll hide this row, which means that these 2 things get hidden as well. Boom, there we go, cleaning it up. I just skipped all of Christmas, I realized. You can see like, okay, Sunny Sundays, this is where like the big upgrading events are. So you can check here, click on the patch notes, and immediately see like, okay, which events do we have coming up? Okay, this one's already gone. Okay, December 31st, that's 30% off. 30% off, the first thing you want to think about, okay, that's good to get items to 15 stars. That's where it shines. Or to get items all the way to 21 or 22, but that's only good if you have a lot of backups. We're talking like 20, 30 plus. So that's usually only for CRA, basically, if that's the next upgrade you're doing. So most of the time, so 1+1 event, get things to 12, 30% off, get things to 15, or endgame stuff. If you're not there yet, don't worry about it. And then 5, 10, 15 events, this one, 100% chance at 5, 10, 15. That's to get stuff past 15. Only get stuff to 15 if you're going to get it past 15, right? Up to 15 is super expensive, not efficient. The only reason you do it is because you can get it past 15, because past 15 is super efficient and is high value.
Okay.
And with that in mind, you can look at like, okay, oh, that's this weekend. How much money do I have? Can I make some upgrades? I can't. Cool. Skip it. Move on to the next one. Do I have stuff that needs to be done? Look at which items, maybe write it down and get it done in the moment, right? Right now there's a DMT event, but it's only for weapons and secondaries, and your stuff is already legendary, so the only thing you'd be looking at is maybe a boss mule or so to get some stuff to legendary. That could be good value, but other than that, for the DMT, it's a different DMT now. Have you seen it? It's like every week there's like a different type of item that gets the effects.
I noticed that.
It's a bit easier that way because you have more time to make your money. You don't have to slam it all in the same day, right? So you can make time in between with your weeklies and then just afford the next item by the next week. So that's kind of nice that they did that. But it's mainly to just tick off the load of the servers, because game was just crashing nonstop with too many people cubing. Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
It's been a nightmare. Either you couldn't get into cash shop, or you couldn't get your cubes, or the cubes would just like roll, the dummy roll, and they would just disappear. You wouldn't get your roll. Yeah, so a lot of stuff would go on. But this is why it's a good idea to always just come back to the event just to get an update on like, okay, oh, and also if you don't hit the 30% off, or you already have stuff at 15, it's like, oh, there's another event coming January 14th. So you can think about, oh, okay, so in 2 weeks, a little bit over 2 weeks, I want to work on that stuff. So maybe you want to focus a little bit more on making money. Maybe you want to focus a little bit more on EXP, because there's EXP events going on. That's another way that you can kind of prioritize on top of just, the list of dailies. Because if there's a really cool event that gives you an insane amount of EXP, then maybe that would be more important to prioritize on. Because they've been shifting a little bit in terms of the weeklies that they're doing. Or they've taken a lot of things that used to be dailies and increasing the buff, but you only can do them 3 times a week now. You've probably seen that with this event, right? So
yeah, I just found all that out yesterday, actually.
Yeah, so you don't have to do everything every single day. You get the same value per week as you usually would, but you only have to do it on 3 days. So you have a bit more freedom, and you can skip some more days, kind of thing. And also the check-in is not like kill 2,000 monsters. The check-in is just click, and then the 2,000 monsters is like on top of it, and then only 3 times a week. So you have more freedom there. So that's nice. What were we talking about? The equips. Yes, we keep circling back, but we're good. we're going to get there. So what are short-term gains that we can make? What's your budget right now, and what you say is your income roughly on a week's basis, or average per day kind of thing?
Per day, I don't think there isn't much. I don't like. I kind of stopped doing like Horntails and Carrion. Well, I guess I should do Pendant, but anyways, all the daily stuff I kind of stopped for now. I haven't really kept track of it, but I'm assuming if everything up to CPAP or up to Lotus now, I guess is
Mm-hmm.
probably like close to a bill, maybe just over.
Yeah, that should be like 1.2 if you sell
Two.
the weekly crystals.
Right, right.
Are you doing Ursus runs daily during 2x? You have
When
time for that?
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I managed to do it like 3 or 4 times a week. Like it just kind of like whenever I notice it's on, I still actually no idea since they
Oh yeah.
changed the daily reset timer. I always forget when it is.
Oh, I see. Well, we have a command for that as well. So Ursus is, let's see, it's UDC. You know when reset is, right? So it's reset +1 to reset +5, and then it's again at 6 hours before reset until 2 hours before reset.
Okay.
So if you
Well,
get your
plus
3
one.
runs in between that time, yeah. So whatever time slot makes more sense for you, right? Since you're in NA, the closer to reset one, just after reset is probably easier for you to make, I think, than the other one.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. For me in EU, the other one is that one is not that easy for me because that starts at 3 a.m. for me,
Yeah.
or it starts at 2 a.m. Yeah, and then 3 a.m. in summer. Yeah, because then it shifts. But yeah, so that's another thing is like resets, and when everything resets, so we've got exclamation mark resets as well because a lot of things have like different weekly resets. So it's good to again be familiar with like when do the things reset and when do you need to worry about like is it the
Yeah.
last day for this? Is it the first day for this other thing? This is a little bit light mode. I need to probably
So, so I guess if you include that Maple Tour, I'd say like 3 or 4 times a week. I'll usually get them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I guess we're closer to like 2 bill then a week if you
Yeah,
include
if you
those.
do Maple Tour, you just do 2 runs Maple Tour, 3 run Ursus. If you can do that daily, that's about a bill a week just between those two things. So it's your good. We call it the Universal Bare Income or the UBI for
Yeah.
short, because it's really once you start going, it's really a big lump of money that will help you progress your account quite a bit. So yeah, you add the bossing, and then you have your playtime right when you're training. But I'm guessing you don't really have drop-in Mesogear. It's probably a little bit all over the place, but it's mostly unique stuff, so it's mostly damage, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The accessories are, I think they're all stat except for
Yeah,
maybe one.
there's 1 line of drop. Oh, 2 lines of drop here. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so in grand total, you're looking at probably like around 2 bill without training, and then when you're training, probably not making as much, but it'd be like 2.5 bill a week or something, or 3 bill a week, something like that.
Yeah, I say 3 is like upper end. Maybe 2.5 if I can
Mm-hmm.
play consistently.
Yeah, so I think you wanna a good aim to get to eventually is around making a bill a day, so around 7 bill a week. That's like a really good point where you can have a healthy amount of money every time events come around, and it also it seems really restricted to only like be like you can't spend off event or something. I'm not saying that you can spend whenever you want, but when you get to a certain point, if you spend off event, you're just going to be slowing down your progress, which to some people can be very depressing because they're already noticing not as much progress if you're not playing all the time. And then if you
Yeah.
throw on top of that like inefficient upgrading, there's going to be a higher likelihood that you end up without an upgrade or, God forbid, a downgrade, and that's going to take the wind out of your sails and make you feel like you've been wasting all your time. So on the one end, try to make it so that not all of your happiness and your sense of progress is contingent on getting stronger, but you have other benchmarks for yourself. Or don't and quit. That's fine too if you want to do that. But if you have all of your eggs in the basket of like I need to get stronger and I need like number go up, when that doesn't happen, that's going to make everything come tumbling down and feel
No,
like
that's
you're.
why I just focus on like goal based,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't pay attention to stats or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. Because it will pretty fast and I get burnt out and I
Yeah,
stop
yeah,
playing.
exactly. That's where the burnout happens. Yeah, okay. It's good that you recognize that. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So the goal for your for most people, the goal would be around your place to shift and to be into get into like full superior Gaulics. But you have an older character, so do you already have full superior Gaulics?
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
already have full superior.
Yeah, so Helix, I don't know when you last did Helix, but Helix is a lot stronger now.
Is it?
Yeah, way more HP. His pink breath attack, remember, like when you don't kill the stomach,
Yeah.
that hitbox extends like all the way into the direction that he's facing, even up into the wall and a little bit behind him. So you need to respect that attack way more. If you see his eyes light up, you basically jump to the other side like hell, or you World Reaver if you're too far out.
Gotcha. Well, I tried it yesterday, the first
Mm-hmm.
time in like 2 years. I guess I couldn't tell because I
Yeah,
leveled a bunch of boost nodes.
you might be past the point, but on new characters after this, you'll see it that it's quite a bit different, and also probably comparatively, what you might have noticed is that the gem died like instantly compared to the other two
Well,
phases,
all I
right?
was gonna say was I couldn't do it because like I don't know. As soon as second phase hit, he just
Mm-hmm.
started spamming shit, and I lost all 5 lives in like a minute.
Oh
So
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. See, there you go. Yeah, yeah. Cause so now compare. In the past, the crystal was like the harder part because you had to do all the damage within the time. The crystal
yeah,
damage basically stayed the same as before, but because of all the power creep and the chin and the eyes comparatively got more HP.
the
So
crystal just gets one shot, I guess.
yeah. So so the thing is still the same. Like for phase 2, you wanna try to stay behind that portal. And hit from behind the portal, and the only thing that could really be scary is when the hand comes up, so you just want to up jump over that. If you can, place down your sword on the rightish side of the map, like when he's still in like the chin form, and then go over to his left side, kill him from the left side, and then go into phase 2, so that you can have the sword be on the bottom right and kill the potatoes that come walking in from the right side. Or if you're strong enough, keep your sword with you, right, and help it to kill phase 2 faster, so that you don't get to the 5 debuff stacks, because then you lose a life on that. But the main thing is in the transition from the chin to the eyes is that you don't get hit, that you don't send too close to him, because one of the first attacks he does is like that fire around you that inverts you and then blows you up and like makes you take like 99% damage.
So the
That gets
portal, I thought I was standing. I guess I wasn't standing far enough. I thought maybe that changed too, the hitbox or something. I thought I was behind the portal. And I was still getting one shot.
Yeah. Well, the thing that could one shot you is the hand. So as soon as you see the eyes light up, then something's gonna happen. So then you wanna focus up, and if the hand comes up to slap you, you can either down jump is a little bit unreliable, but you could down
I
jump
usually just
under
up
the
jump.
hand. Yeah, up jump is the safest. If you can also down jump, and then you can use that time down there to kill the potatoes that are below you, because you won't be doing any other attack while the hand is still going on, right? But sometimes going down will reset the timing on the hand, and then he can use the hand multiple times. So then you want to be careful for that. But if it's a slower run, then you need to worry about the potatoes a bit more. If it's a faster run, you can just blow through it. And hopefully after today, and we set all your stuff up, you should see yourself doing a lot more damage, and then hopefully that run becomes a lot smoother.
Hopefully, is there any point? I guess for backups, I would still need to. I should still do Helix.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's you're time gated there on the backups, and there's options for transferring as well. So first hand is just getting the pieces. Second hand is like transfer hammering in other pieces. You don't want to have to tap on this, risk booming past 17 stars, and then have to buy all the backups because that'll take too long. So you want to take fodder, level 140 pieces. The ones that you find, you want to hold on to those. So for the earrings, it'll be reinforced earrings. For the belts, it'll either be the pink bean belts or the reinforced belts. You can keep all of them until you have a certain amount and then just focus on one kind, right? Because if you do boom and you get a trace, you have to use the same type of item, so it's better just to have one specific type of item. For the pendants, it'll be Dominator pendants, so you already mentioned Arc before. There will also be Daybreak pendants later, but that's only when you start killing like Saren and Ferricilla, so that's not until quite a bit later. So
6 years ago.
yeah, I'll take a bit. So normal arc is actually really, it's good that you mentioned that, but it is a very important daily, especially once you get your drop rate in order, because the pendants and also the primals to make the Meister rings on a daily basis. And it's a daily, right? So the drop rate is low, so it's like counting on you to do it on a daily basis to make sure that you can get that progress with your account. So I would have that one in your list of dailies to do with drop rate, with a drop rate coupon perhaps, if you have access to that, right? But I would probably do Helix first, right? Because it's a bigger risk. You don't know if you're going to kill it. If you do kill it, make sure you have all the drop rate on. Make sure you use your coupon, get your familiar with drop rate, all of that. Open the box at the end of Helix, and then kill the easier bosses while you still have the coupon on from Helix. So there's some other bosses that you could kill like a normal arc. And there's maybe some other stuff you can think about. Maybe normal pink bean as well, so that you can get extra pink bean marks, stuff like that. where the drops are just more rare, and it's kind of counting on you doing things daily without getting you too much of like a daily routine of like playing for 16 hours, right? We want to avoid that because that's not what we want to get to. But just like one 10-minute coupon and just like 3 or so important bosses, I think that's a good daily routine. Because I usually think of in terms of like it's segmented like that, right? Like what are daily event stuff I'm doing, what is daily symbol stuff I'm doing, what's daily boss stuff I'm doing, and then what is like extra training essentially. That's like kind of like the compartments that I'm looking at in terms of for every character. Does this need anything here? If it doesn't, cool, move on. If it does, see where it fits into your week, or if it's a weekly, or where it fits into your day if it's a daily. But yeah, normal arc important there. Pendants, superior, yes. And then for the rings, it'll be either the Meister rings, again, the primals come back for Arcarium, right? Or it'll be the kind of treasure rings from Princess Snow, which are, I don't know when you last did Princess Snow, but those are like drops from the boss now.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I did that before I took a break, so I just haven't done it since I came back, but I guess it's just
that's a weekly. Yeah, it's a weekly, so that you don't have to worry about that in the daily routine, but for weekly, that's an important one. And an update, I don't know when you last used it on your hero for your sword, your dimensional sword, your burning soul blade, right? If you put it down, it doesn't get teleported anymore if you walk away from it very far. So if you're doing
that's the awesome change. Holy shit.
Yeah, it is. Well, the main thing is like if you're doing Princess Snow, you're killing the whale, right? Your sword will get teleported back every time. But now if you put your sword up top, it'll stay there at least and keep hitting the whale. So that's at least a little bit of extra damage that you're getting in, you know? So that sped it up just a bit. Just make sure that your sword illusion fully hits on the whale. That's where a lot of your damage comes from. Right. So yeah. And then you have that dashing skill as well, right? Did you use that one a little bit?
No, dashing skill.
Yeah, you can like teleport to your target.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you can use that sometimes in the whale as well. If you're like, if you can make like a diagonal, right? So if the whale is like on the leftish side, if you jump up on the right side and then just face the whale and press the button, you'll just like dash right through it, and it'll get you to the whale a little bit faster, just to cut some time, because that shit is just so annoying, right? when you're doing that boss fight. Yeah, and then the second compartment would be probably symbol dailies, just because you can get so much now, right? You can probably do those dailies in like under 5 minutes. It's super fast. Yep. It's 20 symbols per 20 symbols per area per day now. And then the weeklies, the other dailies, like the secondary dailies, are all weeklies now, right? Like the Choo-Choo PQ and like the Dream Defender, Spirit Saver, all that. Those are weeklies now. And you can auto-complete those just on one day, and then you can get 45 symbols of those just in one day, and then you're done for the week for those. Yeah. So those are good chunks, and they're decent EXP as well. If you add all of the EXP from the dailies and the weeklies all together, that's also decent EXP. And another one that people lump in with that a little bit is Monster Park. Doing up to 7 runs of Monster Park per day, you definitely get the 2 in, but if you're working on the 7-day Monster Park or medal for the long term, but the amount of EXP from Monster Park has also been greatly increased. And in case you don't remember, like you can buy the extra entry tickets, right, with either reward points up to 20 or with Mezzo in the cash shop. And you can do up to 7 runs a day. So that doesn't only give you a lot of EXP, it'll also give you the boxes with the rewards in it and the coins. And then the coins you can use to buy the coupon, the potions for yourself and for your account, right? Extra EXP, extra attack speed, extra damage, or a magic attack. So those will keep your account funded. And then the Saturday and the Sunday boxes can also contain EXP coupons. So you want to hoard those in case you need them for later, for like training sessions and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything you mentioned so far is pretty much all of what I do just for like, dailies. The only thing I don't do is like I guess extra training.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, and once you get to 260, you'll get the grandest, and you get even more daily. So good times, guys. Good times. All right, so for the short term, so where you're at 96, which is not an insane amount of IED to be in, considering you have Superior Gollux, but the main other thing you probably don't have is the Legion is not that big, right? But what do we have here for Legion level? We have bringing up to 1k. That is pretty tiny. But then there's a huge jump here in the mid game, right? Where your Legion will be taking over a lot. We have tenant ID here. Do we have ID on the familiars at all in this setup?
No, no. So I mean, I wasn't too sure, like
Mm-hmm.
what the familiar, not the system per se, but like what the meta is for familiars. Like, do I farm them later? Is it something I can do now? Is there even a way to farm them or look for better lines? Or best
Yeah,
I
we
got
can get.
was like 15 ID, I think, off a random one I opened. But
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we can go over that really quickly, but basically I've got a command for that as well, exclamation mark familiars, that has like all the information. First it has like all the details, and then kind of like the like what the maths are, what the numbers are, what everything means. So you can kind of get familiarized with that, and then it's got advice on the bottom on like what to look for. So if you don't have 2 IED or 3 IED, if you need IED familiars in the beginning yet, then just reveal all of them and just look for those lines. You already have the drop rate here, so you can avoid this part because you have the old spider, right? But you want to be looking for ID lines, yeah. Basically, getting to like higher rank and getting really good lines, that can only work if you have like hundreds of exactly the same familiar. So as long as you don't have that, you just look at the card for what it is, you reveal it. If it's shit, you can axe it, like you can extract it. If it's good, which basically will only be for you 15% ID line, then you lock it and you save it. Once you have 2 or 3 of those ID lines, then from that point on, you don't even have to reveal anymore. You can just instantly axe them, or you can give them to a bossing mule and get easy ID there, which is probably an advisable thing to do. Because again, the ID in the beginning is really valuable for your account, but your familiars can't give anything else besides it, so it'll be good value for ID. So in general, for bossing mules, those are 3 things that I advise: is to try to get ID familiars, is try to get reinforced Golic set, because it's really close to superior, but it's really easy to get compared to superior, and it'll give you a lot of ID and a lot of boss damage as well early on. And to try to get your characters into a guild so that you can have access to some boss skills, because that'll reduce the overall funding that your character need by a lot if you're trying to fund bossing mules. Just to make sure we cover that part. If you're trying to go further for familiars, basically you'll kind of wait until you get to the area where familiars drop while you're training there. So basically Morass and Esfera is like the earliest, and then the latest area would be like Labyrinth after that at 250, and Limina at 255. And then once you go into Grandis and stuff, familiars don't drop anymore. So you have a pretty narrow window of where you want to get all your familiars, which again, this is why drop rate is so important, because you want to make sure that you get as many familiars as possible when you're in that time, and that you also try to work on once you are getting hundreds of familiars, because you're getting the same ones because you're in an area for a long time, but you'll be leveling pretty quickly because you're on Hyperburn, but still, you want to try to make epic familiars, so that's mentioned here as well. You want to buy a buffer of some essences. That's just with the energy that you get for extracting them. This is about ID on the mules. Yeah, so this is once you start making epic. So you want to start with the rare cards, and then you want to fuse them with the existing cards. So it looks something like this. You go to your collection, you pick a rare, you go to fusion, and then you pick a rare, and then any other commons and rares you have that you double-clicked, not that are in your inventory, right, but that you double-clicked, will be available here, and then you can fuse them, and then this bar will fill up to 100. And then the other thing that you'll need, so you'll need the full bar, and you'll also need them at max level. So right now it's at level 1. The way you level them is by having them summoned while you're killing monsters around your level. That levels them up. So when they're level 5 and they're max full, then you can try to click the rank up here, and then you have, 80% chance, I think, to make an epic. And then you just reveal, and then that is what you get. It's probably going to be a shitty line, and then you just make another one. If it does get large drop rate, that's the one you're looking for. Large drop rate is 100% drop rate, and that is going to be the one that you're looking for. Once you've got that...
Do they stack? The drop rate?
So, no. Only one source of drop rate and one source of meso drop rate can be... Those are different lines on familiars. On all the other sources, they're the same. Drop rate, and yeah, that's another thing to get into. But like drop rate, I've got a command for that as well because it is so convoluted. Basically, when you go to drop rate, there's like a bunch of different things. There's meso obtained, there's meso drop rate, there's item drop rate. Those are all different stats. So it's important to know the difference between them. But basically, when it comes to the familiars, whatever has the largest percentage will be the one that activates, and it will be the one that shows as a buff on the top right of your screen. So these are the lines, and here you can see like what percentages those mean, and then based on those percentages, and you can also just equip them and see in your stat window how much it goes up by. But this is the one that you're looking for. This line specifically increased item drop rate by a large amount, which is not what you have. What you have is increases item and meso drop rate by a large amount, but that's only 50 or 60% of each instead of 100% on just one of them. So just because it says large amount, that doesn't determine how big it is. What the the prefix is, what stat is a large amount of. That's what determines how big it is. So that can be a bit confusing, but you just have to know that, I guess. And then, so if you were to equip like this one, for example, and this one at the same time, then this one won't do anything because it's 40 on both, and this one will double activate because it's 60 on both.
Right.
But if you equip this one and this one together, then you'll get, for item drop rate, you get 100%, and then for meso drop rate, you'll get 50 or 60, whatever this is. Yeah. Otherwise, you could, get 3 of these and then stack 300% drop rate just from familiars, right? It'd be crazy. So to kind of curb that, they have only the highest percentage activating. So once you have that, you can start looking for unique familiars, and that's because there you can get large healing. Remember, way in the beginning, we talked about like some bosses being a lot easier with the healing, like Hard Will and Varicilla. So that'll help your party a lot. If everyone has like 1 or 2 of these, it'll make the whole boss fight so much easier. Bigger chunks of IED that can help you later on to, maybe you can lower your hyper stats a little, maybe you can change your legion grid a little, maybe change your link skills a little bit, right? Or high boss damage percentage, which is the main thing that people are trying to stack familiars for. But again, like if you could just get a large drop coming out of Tenebris and into Grandis, that will already be a big win. A W, as the kids say these days, because you're not going to be there long, and large drop rate is going to set you up to getting more drops, getting more fragments, getting more backups, right? And that's going to help you be successful in the game.
And so, Sphera? I mean, I guess I'll look at the sheet later then. I'm sure you have where to actually hunt for them.
Sphera, yeah, Sphera has them. Basically, around your level, the only area that doesn't have them is Celis. That's why Celis tends to have higher EXP rates and higher... what is it? Meso? No, not Meso. Higher like burn in the maps, because people tend to not train there because they're already getting through the phases so quickly that they want to have as many familiars in that phase as possible, so they kind of avoid that area.
Is there a reason to do Celis at all? Because it's the equivalent of like Yum Yum or Reverse City, right? I'm assuming like the midway.
Well, I would say it's better for fast EXP. So let's say you're on your 3rd or 4th character. You're just trying to get your levels in. You're just trying to get like a boss mule leveled. You're not really trying to work on familiars. Then you can get easy EXP there and level very quickly. So okay. that's when I would go to Celis. But if you're trying to make familiars, maybe not for your character, but for your whole account, yeah, people tend to go more to like Moonbridge and stay there for a while. Maybe Labyrinth, Libana, like that. Those are more like the maps that people are looking at. Yeah. So the familiars do stack, right? Just to clarify, like the drop rate thing, that was a separate thing. But if you have like 3 familiars with 50% IED, it'll be counted like 3 individual 15% lines that are adding to the IED. But yeah, since we segued into the drop rate stuff. So when it comes to drop rate, that's going to be an important thing for you to start working on for your accessories. Because I think, obviously, right after your WSE being good potential, so we'll work on that, right? We'll get into that. Well, we can set that up first. For your WSE, you'd want to get a combination of attack IED and boss that makes sense for your account. But right now, your emblem is where you want it to be, right? All 3 lines are doing something, 2-line attack, and even damage on the 3rd. Like, that's great for your emblem for now. The other 2 are, all 3 lines are doing something as well, but not quite what we want. So you're a little bit lopsided on the total IED and lopsided on the total boss damage. Might be good, but you don't want it all to be coming from your weapon unless there's also a lot of attack percentage coming. So like if your weapon was what it is now and your shield was like 1 line of IED and 2 lines of attack, I'd have much less of a problem with it, but now your total amount of attack in your whole account is quite a bit low. So I wouldn't be surprised if you look at your attack power here, 1250, and what you want to be aiming towards in the progression grid. once you're done, is like 2,000. A lot of that has got to come from your weapon, your setup, and your bonus potential. So that's probably where you're missing quite a bit now. So the main thing I would re-roll. You could calculate how much you would lose, but you'd still go down to 90% even if you lost both of the lines on the shield. I mean, secondary is technically a little bit worse to roll, so I'll probably try to re-roll the weapon first and just look for any combination of attack and boss, even if it's like 12 attack on top and then 30 boss somewhere in the bottom two. That's probably already going to be an upgrade in terms of your damage output for bossing. And what it's also going to do is for your mobbing, you're going to see a lot of damage increase, which again means you can keep killing more cleanly and you don't have to rely as much on the stat of your accessories. Because for your accessories, we want to... Exactly, we want to get rid of the stat there, and we want to get drop rate and meso obtain, so that we can maintain the same kill speed, but get way more rewards per kill. Again, similar to what we talked about with the weekly bosses. If you get your kill speed up, and your kill speed is there, how can you get more? Well, the way you can get more is by getting more per kill, right? Because you can't get more kills. So we're trying to get more drop rate, more meso obtain to increase value to every single kill that we're getting. So for the short term, yeah, for short term, I'd first cube on the secondary and on the weapon. Probably weapon first, then secondary. Try to get like a total of like I would keep at least one line of IED between the two, and at least one line of boss, and then as much attack as you can. So if you can get to like 2 lines of attack, 1 line boss, 1 line IED, even if the third line isn't stat, even if the third line is complete garbage, that would balance out your total stats that your character needs quite a bit more. And that should already make your damage go up quite a bit.
Okay.
However you get that in a configuration, right? The other question would be like how close you are to Abzo, because if you're really close to Abzo, you might also just leave the weapon for where it is right now, focus mainly on the secondary. Maybe, yeah, just to get something decent on the secondary, and move towards trying to get the Princess No secondary and working on that on the side, and working towards the Absolute weapon. So you don't spend too much money on these, and you start looking towards the next step, right? But you only just cleared Lotus and Damien the first time today?
Yeah. But,
yeah.
Not even Damien. Oh, by the way, do we still have to do the like Maple Hero pre-quest stuff for Damien?
So that's all within account now. If you have one character done that in your account, then all of them unlock it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you have to do it at least once, but
okay.
Yeah, everything. The only thing that's not shared right now is like Chaos Root Abyss access. Like your character, every individual character has to do normal Root Abyss 5 times, but all the other weekly stuff is all just once per account and then unlocked. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I just did Lotus. I'm assuming it'll take like probably a month on average, because I already have all the pieces from the weeklies that I've been doing.
Oh yeah, if you do the weeklies, then you can speed it up. So ideally, you want to get the weapon from Damien and the shoulder from there, because the shoe, the cape, and the glove all come from the Lotus shop. So to kind of even out between the amount of weeks that you would need, then you'd need 6 drops from Lotus and 7 from Damien. And again, the chance of those drops goes up with more drop rate, right? So you will decrease the amount of weeks that you will need to get those updates. So it's always drop rate coming back. So if it's going to take like multiple weeks, then do what I talked about, right? Try to get 2-line attack, 1 line ID, 1-line boss, something around there between the secondary and the weapon. And then once you've got that, like the main thing you want to do that is then get all the accessories up. So probably want to look at the MMT for accessories, which I think is coming up. Is it next week? I think it's coming up soonish. It's on the 20th. Yeah, so it's 3 weeks out. So you can save up nicely for that. And then when that comes out, get all of the accessories to Legendary. And then try to go for what I have here under exclamation mark drop rate. So you get like a mix and match with the lines. So you want to look for 5 lines of meso, 4 lines of drop. If you hit more than that, that'd be cool. But you have 9 accessories, right? All the rings, the 2 pendants, iron face, and the earring. Those 9 accessories. They can get meso obtain drop rate. And just try to hit for 5 and 4. Right now, if possible, because you're kind of in a transitionary period where you want to make this set, but you also already have Superior Gollux. So you ideally, you want your Superior Gollux to be specifically just attacking stuff, and to have the other stuff be specifically the superior Golex to be specifically damaging stuff, and all the other stuff to be drop rate, right? If possible. So it would be cool if you had some extra pieces here and there in your inventory that were maybe already unique or something, that you could maybe tier up instead for the drop in the meso, and that you could keep the damage on the accessories, the superior accessories. Is that possible for some of the pieces?
I mean, yeah, like I already have well, I have like reinforced copies. I got reinforced earrings that are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, try to get because then I think this one already has drop rate, so we can see. So I would put that down into the lower priority for the same session. That if you get done within your money, then you can add that and then get more value out of it. If you don't have the money, then don't do that for now, right? So what I mean is, if you can barely get to the 9 lines with your funding, then keep it on the superior for now. But eventually, it'd be a good move to try to get the reinforced earrings, right? To get those into legendary, get the drop rate there, and then you can completely re-roll the superior, because it's very cheap to roll to like 21% stat on superior stuff, and then that will make it so that you can get just a lot more damage from the specific damage set, because you want to go towards. So ideally, first you make a drop and meso combination set, right? Then you make a damage set, because superior takes a bit longer now because of the changes to Helix. So then you make, like, between Sweetwater, between Daybreak accessories, and between superior pieces, you make a dedicated damage accessory set, and then you basically just change based on which situation you have. And then what will happen is you'll steadily upgrade the pieces in the damage set, and some of the already upgraded damage pieces will become functionless. And then what those will become additional drop rate pieces, so that you can get to basically a third set. So you have one set of combination of drop and meso, one that's fully drop, and then one that's damage. And that combination that's fully drop, that's what you'll use when you kill bosses, when you open up the boss boxes, because then you'll have the most chance for those backups, and you don't need the meso obtain, and you don't need the damage to kill a box, right? And then you switch back into the damage gear, kill the boss, back into full drop. You want to do some dailies, combination of drop and meso, so you can make money and get drops. Unless I only want to get fragments. I don't care about the money, because I already get enough money for my bossing mules. Boom, you go full drop. Or my bossing mules, I don't want to do them, and the fragments is going fast enough, I'll do meso and drop. Or I don't have enough damage to kill here, I want to get EXP, I'm going to go in full damage so I can still mob here, right? That way, whatever situation you're in, and whatever you want to do in that time, you'll have a set that matches that desire. And a cool thing that's coming for MapleStory as well, that they just got in Korea finally, is character presets. So you'll be able to make full presets based on, I want to do as much damage as possible, I want to get as much drop rate as possible, I want to get a combination of drop rate and meso obtain. You'll be able to make full presets, so across your link skills, your legion, your equipment set, all of that, and just with one click of the button, switch everything into that preset. Which is going to be a dream. So you'll be able to take massive advantage from that if you get all of these sets like somewhat distinguished from each other by then.
Good.
So January 20th, that's going to be your accessory. So you're going to be aiming for 5 meso, 4 drop. You already have 2 drop, so that's 7 more lines that you need to do. And
it's not worth, assuming, pushing for like double lines on one.
No, not at this point. Not at this point, no. This is when your account is more established and that basic income is higher, probably past that 1 bill a day mark, because then that upgrade will start making more sense to you. And especially you'll start going to do that on those pieces that start getting swapped out. So let's say, you're at the point where you have like a 17 Sweetwater tattoo, maybe a 19, and then you got the Twilight mark from, normal, well, probably not from normal because it's a super low drop rate, but from like hard lucid, hard will, and you tap that, it goes to 21, that becomes your damage piece. Now your Sweetwater tattoo, your 19-star Sweetwater tattoo is offside. So now you're like, what do I do with this? Oh, I want to make a strong drop rate or meso piece out of this. I'm going to try to double line this. And then also because you're trying to double line, that's when you try to use bright cubes, right? Which is 22 mil a pop. So this is like an expensive hobby to have. It's not super expensive. I think on average the cost of hitting something double is like 4.5 to 5 bills, something like that. So it's not like the most expensive thing in the world. But at that point, you want that to be like 4 days worth of meso, not 3 weeks worth
Yeah,
of
we're
meso,
where my
right?
account. Yeah, where my account is right now. It's just not
Exactly.
worth it.
Exactly. So it's good to have that in mind, that that's a project for that piece eventually, and that also can give you the peace of mind that you know that there's a certain level that you can upgrade something to, and it's not going to be a waste, because there is going to be a second life, there is going to be a second utility for that piece that eventually will come back to you, because we always have to keep in mind non-tradability, non-fungibility of items because we're in reboot, so it's good to keep that in mind, yeah. So, yeah, in terms of the priority, you probably do all of it at once because it's an event, but in terms of priority, I always do the pieces that are already unique first because they're the cheapest to get to Legendary, and I always prioritize the ones that would lose you the least damage, just in case you're on a tight budget, right? If you don't want to end up with...
Yeah, if I miss, then I want lower.
Yeah, with missing more damage than you need to, exactly. But yeah, usually unique to Legendary is about a bill, so you'll probably spend about half that, 400 to 500 mil during an MMT. So that'll give you a little bit of an idea of the cost of the tiering up, and then the rolling to meso and drop that shouldn't cost too much. You could just buy a batch of glowing cubes.
Is glowing the old black cubes?
No, glowing is the old red cubes. Yeah, because the renaming, right? Because we got the mythical cubes. No, mystical cubes. Sorry. So that's the old occult cubes. Then the hard cubes are the old Master Craftsman ones. Those are green now. And then the old Meister cubes that were purple are still kind of purple. Those are the solid cubes now. So those last two are the ones that can drop from bosses sometimes, right? And then the other two, the glowing is blue now. That's the old red cubes. And then the bright is like pinkish now, which were the old black cubes. But they still have the same cost, so you'll be able to tell by how much they cost which ones are which.
And glowing is fine for miracle time? Like
glowing and bright tier-up rates will both be affected by miracle time, but be doubled up. But the glowing is like the cheaper one, so those are the ones you re-roll if you're just looking for like just decent stats. And then the bright cubes are the ones that you use if you're looking for more double primes and stuff. So like drop and meso combinations, double prime main stat stuff, or like critical damage, double critical damage on gloves and stuff. That's when you use bright cubes.
What about tiering up? It doesn't matter which one I use?
Not really. It's about the same tier, and I would usually just advise to use the cubes to tier up with that are the same ones as the ones you would use after you roll, so that when you get lucky, you're not left with a bunch of cubes to roll with that you didn't want to roll with. When it comes to doing a lot of items, usually I buy a little bit of both. The bright cubes will just be a bit faster to tier up, but per cost, it's about the same as glowing, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. But if you're going to be tiering up like 6 or 7 items, you might as well just buy some bright cubes to get through that, because you know you're going to use all of them anyway. But there's no real cost difference. You want to buy use the glowings to make sure you get the drop in the meso, and maybe a little bit of stat, right? That's, I guess, a little extra thing that I didn't go into, but if you're going for a drop in meso, what's most likely going to happen is you're going to end up with like, 8 drop rate lines and 1 meso or something, right? Just roll whatever has the one you have too many of that doesn't also have stat first, so that you hopefully end up with a combination of 5 meso and 4 drop, with at least like 5 or 6 of them also having a line of stat, because that will take a little bit of pressure off all of the other stats again to need to upgrade, because that'll increase your stat here to make sure that all the other pieces don't need to work as hard. Because then the next step for you after that is going to be work on Starforce, right? And Starforcing has changed quite a bit as well. I don't know when you last Starforced.
Well, I did an accessory for fun, like when I came back, but then not much before the break.
Did you realize no boom chance and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I thought there was, and also it doesn't tier down past 12.
Yeah, so all the way up to 15, no drop on fail and no boom chance anymore. So it's a bit more expensive per attempt, of course, to compensate for that. But basically, it's a lot cheaper than safeguarding now, and it's almost the same price as not safeguarding now, but it's like standard on all the items. So basically, if you're going up to 17 and you're using the 5, 10, 15 event for that, which, you know, you want to do that, the only time you have to safeguard is 16 to 17, and that's it. All the other stuff is like included. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good time to be in. So that also means that you can, you know, kind of turn your brain off and just mindlessly click for a little bit longer without having to suddenly look at a trace and get scammed, essentially. So that's going to be the next 5, 10, 15 event. When was that one? And that one might be a little bit too early for you because you might not have the money yet at that point, right? Jet job advancement.
Yeah, maybe like one item. That's about it.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, on January 14th. Yeah, that's actually before the accessories for you. Yeah. So that might be a skip angle for you.
Skip it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it just doesn't help that much. We do have a 1+1 event, which is not the worst at getting to 15. It's like the second best. If you look at Starforce, Starforce. Here we go with the commands again. Sorry, we're gonna just.
I didn't realize there were that many. It's a good resource.
Made them for a reason. Yeah, I've got about 300 now, so it's pretty much everything you can just tap in. So we're looking at the superior gear, for example. We would not have to safeguard because we're just going up to 15, but we could set safeguard, but it won't change the cost, right? Normal type. Star catching. If your guild has a enhancement room, I would check because there's a guild castle now. I don't know if you've seen that at all.
No. I'll look into that, I guess, as well.
Yeah, guild castle is something that your guild leader can build out. If you have the guild castle, then there's a room called the enhancement room. And if you're in there to Starforce, then your star catch will always apply automatically. So the extra chance from it will. Yeah, so you don't have to, if you don't tick the box, like you want a star catch, it'll just do it for you. If you tick the box to skip it, then you won't get the chance. So make sure you leave it unticked. But if you have that room, you'll save money there. So that's a, and then you can always here have the plus 5% multiplicative for your calculations. Let's say no MVP discount. Let's say, so 30% off is the ideal one to do this in, right? So you can see that it costs you like around 250 mil on average, 260 mil, let's say 260 mil on average. If you do it off event, it's about 350, 360. So you're saving about 100 mil per item by doing this, right? So add all the items up, it adds up quite nicely. And if you do the 2+2 event, you will see that it changes nothing. Why? Because you can't drop down back to 10 anymore, right? So if you're already at 12, it actually doesn't save you any money between off event. If you do 5, 10, 15, same thing, it won't change anything. So this is a good tool to kind of like check like which event would be the best and which event is still kind of like worth it for me if you're trying to. So we're looking at like if you're going to 22 during 30% off, right? Like you can look at, oh, it's like 9 bill, 9.5 bill, and then 5, 10, 15. So we're like, oh, this is actually more. Oh, so 30% off is better. Well, if you look at the booms, the medium booms here is 3. You look at here, the medium booms here is 5. That's a low outcome, I think. 5, 4. The average booms is like 6 though, closer to 7. Where the average here is like 3 to 4-ish, right? So depending on what type of item it is, you might not want to be risking that. So make sure you look at both of these numbers. If you're very risk aversive, look at the numbers over here, but it'll get scary how big those numbers get. If you're just doing a single item, you can look at the median. If you're doing a bunch of items, look at the average, right? Outliers and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You'll have like one of those crazy 28 boom sessions, but most of the stuff will happen here. Yeah, that'll help you keep track. But yeah, it looks like Starforcing skip for you for now. You want to get that foundation ready. You want to get your WSE. Good potential, good solid, both mobbing and bossing. Not too overboard, depending on the progression, right? Look at the numbers. Make sure you're not too out of there. Oh, just closed that accidentally. And then drop in Mezzo, get that set completed. Make sure that you can get backups. Get those dailies in. That will give you good daily rewards. Slowly work on the familiars, not pushing there just yet. But with more drop rate comes more familiars. And then, of course, you want to get that large drop rate familiar. If you can hit that, even more familiars, even more backups. That's when stuff really gets rolling. If your Legion starts growing and you can get Legion coupons there for extra drop rate, that's cool too. Familiar plus coupon plus decent holy symbol, right? That drop rate,
Yeah.
plus your equips all put together. That's gonna be a nice amount of just winning time, winning hours. Yeah, I would invest in the teleport rock. 600 towns return scroll is probably not necessary anymore. We basically always just buy a 1 week rock for 25 mil and then just teleport all over the place. Yeah, that tends to be the way that we do things. Careful with these VIP coupons because they expire in 24 hours. So you can buy them in bulk if it's like the last day of the shop, right? Shops reset Tuesday into Wednesday. But otherwise, I would just buy them one at a time to not risk having them expire because they're pretty valuable. Yeah. Yeah, and just general advice with like all of the rewards and stuff. Just pick them up if you are going to actively use them. They usually have decent durations, but they all have durations, right? So don't pick it up yet if you don't really have an active plan on what to use them on yet in that time.
Right. Yeah, I think one of them I retrieved too early.
Yeah, you don't want things running out. Mm-hmm.
Is there any, like, aside from the obvious stuff like symbols or droplets, is there any like obvious must buys? Like the Android and the heart. Is it worth spending them so on?
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, but you have until February, right? Early February.
Yeah.
But it'll be around. It's 4 bill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good purchase. Yeah. The next event, it looks like in Korea they're making it so that the heart is just one of the rewards of doing a whole bunch of things. And you don't have to separately buy it. But the heart is one of those things that if it's not worth it for you yet, it will be worth it before the next event rolls around that has one, and then you wish you would have gotten it. That's pretty much how fast you progress through the game. Like right now, 4 bill, dumping it on just the item doesn't seem worth it. But yeah, you should be able to, within like getting the upgrades on January 20th on your accessories, and then start from there, start saving up for the heart, and be able to like buy it before the end of the event. That would be a good goal, I think.
Okay. Alright. Yes, if you don't mind, just like one more question about the V Matrix. Is there any like must-haves or things that anything that's glaringly obvious that I'm missing? I mean, obviously I have open slots. Like the two on the bottom there, I just filled in yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wondering if I'm missing anything that I should have.
Building the matrix. Yeah, probably because you don't have all the slots filled. Let's look. One thing that's really useful. Basically, you want pretty much all the decents. You don't want to level the decents except for decent holy symbols, so that's good. This one is the highest level. Yeah, don't neglect weapon aura in terms of leveling because it extends the uptime quite a bit, and it does give final damage and IED from that as well. So that is a nice skill to level up. Probably, yeah, like around the same time as your instinctual combo, and both solidly after your burning soul blade. So the order in terms of levels is pretty decent, but I would put it like just behind the instinctual combo. Boost nodes are going to be more important for you, so definitely level the boost nodes, get them into the higher level slots, and try to get one of each of the, or two, sorry, of each of the useful skills, and then into 4 total boost nodes. So you're looking for your last one now, I think, to match the set, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not even sure like which trinodes I would use anymore. I feel like they took one of the trinodes out of the game. I mean, maybe I'm just really unlucky, but I opened like 300 node stones and I couldn't find a single trinode for like Rising Rage, Raging Blow, and Final Attack. I don't know. Like,
yeah, because we have. Well, because we have so many more slots now, you've probably noticed, right? There's way more slots visible in the Matrix, and by 260, you're going to have all the slots available. So because the slots go so more quickly, it's way less important to get those specific sets combined, because you're just going to be equipping all the things all the time anyway. So you want to be a little bit... Yeah, you want to be a little bit less rigorous in finding like a specific set, and kind of be a little bit more open on anything that starts with one of the 6 skills that you want to max out. And the other 2 are also 2 of the other 6. Just hold on to those, and then get rid of the ones that don't start with any of the 6, and just keep all the ones that start with any of the 6, right? So that, and you have that boost filter option as well. Have you used that one before?
Yeah, that's really useful, man.
Yeah, especially when you're opening a few hundred, right? Just not to have to go looking. Yeah. So keep a little bit more of an open mind there on which ones you want, because right now, I see you have triple boosted final attack and raging blow, which is fine for the beginning, right? But eventually you want to basically see that plus 10 for all of them, because that means that you have them twice and they're in 2 different level 5 slots. So eventually you want to get rid of 1 final attack, 1 raging blow, get another rising rage, and get another and get 2 more. Oh yeah, the last one is not like super important. I think it's like Soul Blade or something. So for that we have !V Matrix. Boom. Hey, another command. Look at that. I bet you weren't expecting that. And then we look for Hero. So again, stats aren't as important anymore. And here you can see which stats you want. So Raging Blow, Cry of Valhalla, Final Attack, Beam Blade, Rising Rage, Puncture. Those are the 6 skills you want to have in there. But yeah, Beam Blade is like the least important. But any like mix and match with these 6, hold on to that because those are potential tri-nodes. Ideally, of course, since you already have some leveled up, ideally it'll be the ones that start with the same skills as the one you have now. Try to focus on those so you can transfer all of the experience, right? By enhancing it. Yeah. If it's a new one, then you'll have to extract and then you lose some value, so don't do that. Remember what you can do is right-click all of them to lock them, so that when you use the extract, you can use the extract all function then, when you get further in, and then it won't accidentally extract anything that you're saving.
Okay, good point.
One that will help you right now quite a bit, I think, is decent combat order, sorry. Because that increases your passives on 4th job. Including your final damage per orb, which is quite nice. And then another boost node, and oh, the Goddess Blessing you don't have in there.
Is that a skill?
Yes, it looks like kind of looks like the Empress, kind of looks like a holy symbol with brown hair. Basically, it adds, all of the explorers have it. It increases your kind of how Maple Warrior works, but it increases your stat by a crazy amount. It works in the same way with the charges that Weapon Aura does now, right? Where it like builds up charges and then you can stagger them or accidentally overlap them if you press the button too many times. But then you want to synchronize that, with your big burst, with your instinctual combo if you can, because that will make your instinctual combo quite a bit stronger.
Yeah, okay, no, I do have it here, just added it. Good point.
Yep. Yeah, so that's probably the 3 you want in there, and then if there's specific situations where you like don't need the rope lift, for example, then there might be... am I missing anything, chat? I could check on my hero, I guess, because I have one of those. But yeah, the matrix got so big now that it's basically if you have 4 boost nodes that you equip, then by the time you get to 260, you can equip literally everything you have access to and a special node, and you'll have 1 slot left. It's only like classes that use 6 boost nodes or more that really have to look at like, what do I equip? But yeah, that's huge quality of life. Oh, the True Arachnid Reflection? You don't have that one in yet.
Yeah, I just got that. I don't remember where, but I remember I just got it. What is the useful for again?
It's a big AoE, so you can use it as an extra map clear, but it also puts a summon where you use it. That'll attack periodically. It's like the skill from Will, so it'll attack periodically and just kill monsters over there. So for mobbing, it'll be a little bit extra, and then for bossing, it's a little bit extra DPS as well. I say a little bit, but it is considerable. So if you have nothing else to put in there, you might as well put that in. It's nice extra damage. And then the last 2 are more just like functional in the moment, which is Blink and Will of Urda. So Blink is no longer just like a random teleport on the ground. Well, it is if you're on the ground, but if you're in the air, it's a float, and then you can float around a little bit with it. So if you combine it with your up jump and then Blink in the air, you can like hover over Lucid Breath, for example. Yeah, exactly. I got a video on that, on like the Lucid Breath and the Lucid Lasers, how you can use Blink to very easily dodge those. Or yeah, like in Lotus, for example, like say the platforms break and you've got nowhere to stand, up jump, blink in the air, stay in the air, and then by the time you land, the laser pattern is going to be over. So that can actually save you in quite a bit of scenarios. Plus, it gives 1 weapon and magic attack per level. So eventually, if you have it maxed in a level 5 slot, that'll give you 30 extra attacks. So that's also quite nice. And then Will of Urda is one that you want to like passively. So this one, like together with like rope lift and with the most of the Urda skills, you just want to level as you get them. You don't have to extract the spares, but you also don't really want to craft the spares. But you want to slowly level them over time because it's good if they grow with you if you get further into the game. Because like Blink will also allow you to float longer if it levels, so that's another nice thing about it. And the other thing is that like with Will of Urda, it'll help you block certain status resistances beforehand, so you don't have to iframe for that. You can just use that Will skill instead and keep your iframe for actual damage immunity. And there's a lot of boss fights later where like if you're fighting Will, for example, and you're getting pushed into the webs, it'll seal you, and it's a seal that you can cleanse with those skills. But there's other patterns where you have to use a movement skill, for example, otherwise you die. And if you're sealed, you can't use a movement skill, so you'll die. But if you can cleanse it right after or right before you will get sealed, then that'll help you later. And leveling it will severely reduce the cooldown on the skill, so you can have more utility from it.
Okay.
But other than that, I think you had all of them. Yeah, World Reaver is not as impactful in terms of damage, so it's a pretty low priority of leveling it, right? Either it kills every mob or it just tickles a boss. That's pretty much what it does. It's just there for the iframe.
Cool. I'll focus on weapon, secondary emblem, then save up for the accessories, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, your let's see, your hyper skills. I think the hyper skills you want are slightly different for hero. Let's check exclamation mark hyper skills, shall we? Because if I remember from my hero, I think it's 13313. I think.
Yeah, they changed a couple of them. I'm pretty sure too.
Yeah. So here is the ones that you would want for hero. So I think you have this the same, the first and the third one, and then for advanced final attack you want the third one. And then the first and the third one again. Because Raging Blow, yeah, they changed also when you're in like the bossing mode, like how many targets can be hit and everything. They changed that around a little bit. So you don't need the extra targets hit is really not necessary anymore, because also because of totems being removed, right? Totems really made it so that there were many, many monsters on the map, and that's not really the case anymore. Yeah, so the extra 2 doesn't, yeah. So you get more utility from the other line there. Yeah, but you can check this for any other class that you're playing as well to get started a little bit, right? Because, yeah. I try to not make, like, specific hero guides, but I'll have, like, hyper skills or hyper stats, right? And then you can look into that specific thing, and then once you figure out your class, and then you look at, the command, then you can apply it to every single class. So that's the kind of the idea more behind what I'm doing. Yeah, you mentioned in the beginning that your stuff was, like, all over the place in terms of link skills and stuff like that. Like, in the beginning... Okay, so hyper stats are going to be messed up because you're slowly building them up, so you're kind of just, like, adding it when you can. So it's going to become, like, a little bit of a shit show. Once you pass, like, level 250, it might be a good idea to just do, like, a full reset and kind of just, like, start back from scratch from the beginning. For that, I've got a video under exclamation mark hyper stats, where I kind of go by like what are the priorities that you want to look at the stats, what are the amounts that you can freely add up to, what are the amounts where you want to start thinking about what do you do, and what is the order you want to apply your stats in. The hyper stats video also talks about like where does damage come from, and how do you balance your hyper stats with your link skills, with your legion grid, and with your members that are in your legion, for example, because they all give the same stats. So how do you you want to maintain the same priority as in the hyperstat video, but that'll help you with those other things that are more up and coming, because it's totally normal for your link skills to be like a hot mess because you just don't have that many characters yet. So you're just slamming everything in that you have, right? That makes total sense. But just like we talked about with the drop in the meso gear and stuff, and then the damage set, right? You want to start looking at your link skills, at your legion grid, at your hyperstats in the same way that once you have enough of it, and once you get to a certain critical mass, then you want to start making different presets. One specifically for mobbing, one specifically for bossing, and then one for, a third special situation, whatever. So that's going to be something that's probably a little bit too early for you, but that will come once you have much more things to choose from. So when it comes to the link skills, basically you could just go back to this one, right? Exclamation mark links, and be like, I'm going to boss. Okay. What helps me when bossing? Critical rate helps me when bossing. Do I need more? Yes. Add some. Am I good? Okay, next one. Critical damage helps me when bossing. Yes. damage while mobbing, doesn't help me. Damage to all monsters, that helps me when bossing. EXP doesn't. Mesobtain doesn't. Buff duration, only for some characters. Skill CDR, only for some characters. Well, it does help you, but it's included in Mercedes, and it's a Legion buff, right? So it's going to be in. Then immunity, okay, that helps me when bossing. ID helps me when bossing. Damage while bossing helps me when bossing, right? So you basically just go down the list and just add what works for you, and then probably you're going to have like 10 or 11 or so in them, and then you have 2 left, and then you just add some from the red area where it's just like flat stat or attack, essentially. So you can do this for any character, for any situation. You're going to be mobbing instead? Cool, then you're most likely going to be in the yellow area. You're going to be bossing, you're going to be here, and you're going to be most likely in the blue area. And that's how you set it up. Same thing when you're building your Legion, right? You start from the top. I just changed... here. Start from the top, but now instead of looking for the white boxes, which is the link skill, right? You look for the green boxes, which is your Legion grid. So you look for, okay, what do I need? Critical rate? Boom. Put those 2 in there. Critical damage? Put those 2 in there. And then you'll very quickly end up in the stat area for for that, because as you can see, that's where most of the classes are.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of useless ones.
Sorry?
So yeah, a lot of less effective like stats.
Less effective, yeah, but there's a lot of them. So the secondary effect, of course, for the Legion grid is that you have not only the member bonus, but you have the grid bonus as well, right? That's the...
Yeah, that I'll have to look into later once I actually level the Legion and expand more of the board.
Yeah, exactly. It's mostly, yeah, once you get the second one, it's still pretty much going to be the same. Once you get to like the third, so once you get to, this is like a 2K, so once you get to 3K, 4K, wait, 6K, 5K, 4K, 3K, 2K. Oh, yeah, 2K, yeah. Once you get to more like 4K, that's really when you start getting away from the middle, and you start working more towards the outsides. Yeah, my Legion is maybe a little bit of a bad example, because I'm so far that I'm... Once you go away from the middle, right, then you go to the outsides, and then you go back into the middle, because if you have extra, right? So I'm already at that stage after that. This one is maybe a better example. So once you have a bigger Legion like that, you start looking at the priorities. So, and again, this priority, again, is the same as with the hyperstats. First, you get enough crit rate to get to 100%. You have that? Cool. Go into critical damage. Then normal monster damage or boss damage, whatever you need. If you need higher IED, that's priority for boss damage. IED is not a stat that you need for mobbing, but the equivalent for IED is kind of bonus EXP, right? You get the bonus EXP after you have enough damage, and you get the boss damage after you have enough IED, because if the penetration isn't there, your damage isn't going through. So you need to make sure the penetration is on point first before you do the damage. With the bonus EXP, it's kind of the other way around, right? If you need to make sure the kill speed is there first. If the kill speed is there for normal monster damage, then you can go into bonus EXP. If it's not there, then you need to get the normal damage up first, because that means you can kill the monsters faster. First, kill the monsters, then get more drops, get more meso, get more EXP from the monsters. That's how you scale up past killing the most monsters you can. And then if your Legion grows even further than that, then you can start filling in like the main stat, and then maybe even the weapon or the magic attack. This one is a buff duration setup because the class needs it. So other ones where it doesn't need buff duration, you'll see that instead I go for the attack and the magic attack. But if a character has very low crit rate, then I might also take some of this out and go even harder into crit rate. But that brings us to one last thing that I do want to mention, is that there is another system coming in a few months, which is the Legion Artifact. So that'll be extra value on top of doing your dailies and your weeklies, basically. So if you have that routine, you'll just be seamlessly, you'll flow into that. What will happen with that system is we're going to lose, when the system comes out, a little bit of our flat final damage increase from our level. But instead, a lot of our damage is going to come from that system instead. But it's not just going to give you just attack plus and that's it, but it's going to give you a bunch of different stats that you want to build up. But it does have extra mesobtain, extra drop rate, right? Extra chance to skip cooldown, some cool stats like that. And it has a bunch of other stats, including also a lot of critical rate. The reason I mentioned that is because Hero is pretty low on critical rate.
Yeah.
So that system will most likely fix all of your critical rate problems. That plus your Legion will. So much so that when it comes to you figuring out like your setup for your inner ability, in terms of like one for mobbing, one for bossing, there you want to look really closely at like all the numbers available, because that critical rate from that new system, from the Legion artifact, will most likely negate any use for you needing critical rate in your inner ability to make sure that you can hit 100%. Most of the time people will do that to min-max on their link skills, right? If you're using the link skill for Phantom, 20%, the value of one line, unique line in your inner ability is lower than the value of a link skill. So you want to get to 20% crit rate on the inner ability, so you can read, but then you're like Tetrising. So this is a stage past where you are, because this is when you have so many options, then you want to start looking for the optimal option. Right now, you're more in the situation where you just drop everything in, so you get as many bonuses as you can.
Yeah, it sounds a lot more like min-maxing than
Exactly.
the stage
Yeah,
I'm at currently with my character.
Right, you got it.
Alright, keep it in mind.
Also, I don't know if you're maxed. Are you maxed on coins here? I don't know if it maxes at 200.
Legion coins? Yeah, I've already collected them. Does it,
you have the you have the receive coins option now, right? So you can just click it. You don't have to go into the boss fight.
I noticed that too.
Yep.
Yeah, I made a lot of quality of life changes since this.
Yeah, it's some of the stuff you wonder like why wasn't it that there in the first place? But Nexon's motto is like better late than ever. So we take it when we can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, it's a lot more enjoyable. It's actually pretty crazy the difference some of these system changes. Especially the dailies in the Arcane River, like night and day.
Yeah, there's going to be also another thing that's coming in KMS is that you'll just click one button and it'll just start all your dailies immediately. Just boom. Yeah, you'll also be able to open like 400 nodes at the same time. Bam. You'll be able to level up a whole bunch of nodes with the nodes that you opened at the same time. Boom. And like I mentioned, those character presets, you're not quite at there yet because you're not switching around that much. But you can imagine every time, like I have a checklist under ! Checklist on like, I'm going to do bossing. I want to make sure that I have the most damage. All right, number one, check if this one is on. Ring set bonus, pets, BA, check, right? That's just going to be making presets for that per character once. Clicking one button, boom, switched. It's going to be a dream. That's going to save so much trouble. Yeah, you're not quite there yet with like switching the whole equips every single time you open a box and everything, but yeah. Hopefully you'll never have to live through that horror.
Probably won't.
Yeah, you'll mostly have like drop mezzo and damage kind of like all in one set, which is fine to have for a while. But again, yeah, if during the session you get pretty lucky and you notice that you can maybe make a full drop and mezzo set aside from the superior Golics, try to do that. And then the superior Golics can just stay where they are at now, or maybe go into a little bit more damage than where they are at now. And then again, save that money all for the heart after that, right? And then after that, the main thing will be to look at star forcing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll look see if we overlooked anything specifically, because we've already gone quite a bit over time, so I want to make sure I don't take up all of your time either. I don't know if there's anything major, but I think it all kind of flows together, right? I guess just
I noted a bunch of stuff, went over everything I could even think of. So.
Special mention, I guess, for your badge, but badges with potential cannot be gotten at all, so never risk booming this, because you won't be able to replace it ever, just to make sure that's... Yeah, make sure that's 100% clear. So you can get this one to 17, but remember that badges don't get any attack past 15. So it's a very low priority to Starforce. It's more like min-maxing a little bit on stat. But the counter for that is that the potential is the cheapest of all the items in the game. Hearts and badges have the cheapest potentials. So you'll prioritize more on potential here than on Starforce. Same thing with the heart. The polar opposites to that is your CRA, for example. CRA hats, tops, and bottoms have among the worst potentials. So you want to, it's fine to keep those epic even or unique. But Starforce wise, they're as risky as everything else, but you can make way more backups more easily, right? So to go for high Starforce, they're actually high priority. So this is how you see, like, do I spend on Starforce? Do I spend on cubing? Well, it depends on the item, right? There's one is more riskier to do the one, and the other is riskier to do the other. So you want to upgrade each item the way that they want to be upgraded, essentially.
Okay.
So that's probably going to be the next thing is the next Starforce event. Yeah, is bringing all your stuff up to 17, and then if you have money left, you can start slowly jumping things up to 17, up past 17. Remember, if you're ever going past 17, if you have a lot of backups and you're gonna, if it booms, you get a trace and then you just replace it, then it's fine to go 1 star at a time. So typically 17 to 18 to 19, and then for 19 we typically jump to 21, because at 20 you can't drop down anymore. So 20 to 21 is actually less risky than 19 to 20. Yeah, so that'll be that jump. I also remember, if you have a whole account full of 19s, you can do all the content in the game, so don't get baited by 22 even though you seem so close, because that's where many people fall and lose all of their gains that they have in their pocket. Also, don't be too proud to stand on 20. 20 might seem like it's so close to 21, but it's also past 19, which is also stronger. So, try to not psych yourself out too much about having too many 20-star items. There's always going to be another event and always going to be more money, right? And if you are going to transfer hammers, so with the fodder, like we mentioned before, right? With Abso, it's no longer necessary because Abso only goes up to 17. So you just Starforce on the item itself because, it's no boom basically with 5, 10, 15 all the way up to 16. So you just Starforce the last one. It's not worth transferring that really. But if you're trying to transfer into high Starforce Superior mainly, and maybe Slime Ring, but probably just Superior, then you tend to get the fodder all the way up to 21 and then transfer it down to 20. Yeah. If you want to be super safe, you could do 22 into 21, but that's for people who play like a lot over a long period of time and have very limited Golex coins. The reason we get the Golex coins is so that we do have that backup. So the priority is usually going to be belt and earring first because they can drop from Helix, so usually you have more backups for that. And then the ring and the pendant later because you'll have to wait for the coins to catch up.
Alright. Cool, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. No worries. Don't neglect your flames. Flames are typically the thing you think about last, but this event as well has a lot of flames going on. So think about which items you're keeping the longest that have flame advantage. So it's most likely going to be your CRA, your Pink Holy Cup, and then to a lesser extent your Abso, because you are going to keep that for a while. And just try to look at, if you don't know about flame score and stuff, you can check !flames. I've got a video on that where I explain flame scores and how that all works. And then you can again... Yeah, and then you can look at the progression grid, right? And you can look at what type of item is it, what flame score am I looking for, and then just roughly try to approximate those numbers and then move on to the next one. That way you can get a lot of value from the flames that you get right now from your from the event, because there's a lot of them in there, right? There's some good value. So you'll do the best in just getting like average flames for everything. Will give you like a whole bunch of stat increase. Yeah, you could probably do a little bit on your weapon. I don't think your weapon is quite at... Is it G5? Maybe it is.
Well, I re-rolled it to 12% boss damage and 40 attack. I don't know what score that is, but...
40 attack... well, 12 boss and 40 attack is probably better than just 53 attack. That's definitely true, yeah. And again, that's more boss again already, right? So that because of the additive advantage, additive nature of boss damage, that again... in a sense, reduce the value of your potential of your weapon a little bit compared to if it were attack.
Attack? Right.
Yeah, because now your total...
It's the first thing I'm going to do.
Well, because you're looking at the total functional damage as well, right? That's where you add the damage and the boss damage together. So if you're going too far over this, that means you can lose some damage and replace it with attack instead so that you can get the attack power closer to where it needs to be, right? Try to use that to kind of like see the balance between the numbers.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. You want to do a shout out to your mom or anything? Anything to wrap up? I don't know.
the whole family. I don't know. I appreciate the help, man. Thank you. I'll check out some of those commands. All of them seem useful.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, of course, there's like way too much to go over in one session. We obviously went way longer than than I intended, but yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, definitely use the commands if you have specific questions after checking out the commands. Like a lot of the stuff will become clear, but you'll undoubtedly be left with some questions. If you feel like it's too complicated, you can always hit me up on Discord, or you can always ask during the chat. There's a bunch of other very useful people, helpful people, I was going to say, who have gone through the commands themselves a bunch of times and helped other people with it, so they'll be able to point you in the right direction if you've got any details that you need to figure out.
Nice. I'll do this, and then in 6 months, we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine you make some, even just from now, just kind of like reshuffling some of the things and reprioritizing. Within a week or two, you already see a lot of progress, probably.
Yeah, the drop rate again. I didn't know how impactful that was, but I'm curious to see if I feel the difference right away.
Yeah, you'll need some time, of course, to see the difference, but hopefully you won't. Maybe we got you just in time so that you don't really have to know what it's like to go for a long time without any drop rate. Because then it'll make a huge difference. Someone going from like 80% bonus to like 250% or something. That's like just a completely different game that you're playing, honestly. Yeah.
Imagine. All right, man.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You as well. Good. Happy New Year, and good luck with everything.
Thanks. You too.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Okie dokie. Yeah, that was a little bit. Maybe a little bit for me. I went a little bit all over the place. It was hard for me to kind of gauge where he already engaged with certain concepts recently and where it was like 2 years ago. Because he mentioned about some things about the hero that changed in the beginning that we're talking about, like the Destiny update, right? Which was a year and a half ago. So I was like anywhere from like 3 weeks ago to a year and a half ago, he could not know yet how that system changed. So I was trying to cover all my basics. That's why the session was so long as well. Try to cover everything to make sure that it is up to speed. But undoubtedly, he wrote down a whole lot of stuff and can check out all these commands and probably can condense it more specifically to his situation on like where he needs to look at. But yeah, drop rate is just king right now. We're playing drop rate story, and we will be probably for the foreseeable future. So get that WSE in order, get your stable damage for mobbing and bossing, then get your drop rate set. Boom. And from there on out, you can build out your income with your bossing mules, right? And once your income is to a certain level, then you don't have to rely on that Mesoptane as much anymore. But then that just means there's more room for more drop rate, more pieces. Get the familiar in there. Work with the pieces that you already have. Capitalize on the upgrades you've already done. Don't just blindly scrap everything because people say that you need Abzo now, right? Try to keep the value from the things that you have and then work from there. Don't just scrap everything, right? Because maybe you'll be able to skip a step here or there by just using the pieces that you have. We didn't go into the details, but he's got strength and critical damage already on the gloves, so that's fine. You just keep those for a while, right? Like an Abzo glove isn't like like get this one up to 16, right? During a 5-10-15. If you have an Abzo, then you can transfer over. Or maybe make the Abzo on the side because the potential will get lost, right? Or if you have enough damage, maybe just don't switch to the Abzo glove at all. Go straight for Arcane then, right? Like if you only do an upgrade if you need that upgrade, right? Look for those functional upgrades. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yes, there you go. Heart, yes, worth it. Flames, slowly on the side. Potentials and Starforce. That's where you want to look at. Starforce, once you have backups and once it makes financial sense, get those potentials first in terms of WSE and drop rate stuff. Then work on Starforce. Then go back to the equips that have survived the Starforcing process and then work on their potentials, getting up to unique, getting up to legendary for stat. That's the general order. Flaming, slowly on the side. Prioritize weapon and then prioritize getting big gains from your flames. Use the calculator, use the progression grid, look for those numbers, and then once you hit, just move on to the next thing. Don't try to min-max any individual thing because you're going to lose value on your flames. Legion, slowly bring it up. Remember, 42 of your characters count, so he still has 22 characters because he has a Legion block here, that he can make. 22 characters to level 100, 2.2k Legion extra, boom, that's 4.8, that's almost 5k, that's going to be all the way up to here unlocked. If he makes one new character a day, get it to level 100, that's it, nothing else. In maybe a few Zakum runs here, but like within 3 weeks, he'll have a 5k Legion. So just look at that in the long term, right? I wouldn't spend one day leveling like 60 new characters, but I just do one character a day for 3 weeks, boom, 5k Legion. Those early gains are super duper fast. And use the event EXP, right? The EXP coupons, you guys did that food storehouse? Crazy levels. Looked at the matrix, we looked at the link skills and all that. Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot kind kind of combination of beginner player plus growing through stuff. So hopefully this session made sense to you guys. If it did, I'm glad. If it didn't, you still have additional questions, leave a comment or hit me up during the live stream. I stream every day over at twitch.tv/Scardor. So come on, join me. All these commands that you see as well are all available in the Twitch chat, even when I'm offline. They're all available for free to everyone. No paywall or anything like that. You can just use them in the chat. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you want one of these sessions as well, these are paid coaching sessions, but you can also earn them if you watch my chat and you're subscribed over there. Then you can just earn them by watching the stream. Very cheap like that. Or if you're even cheaper, you can just leave a comment on this one saying that you love the session, it changed your life, and you would love to win one as well. Please include your Discord name so I can reach out. And 2 lucky commenters every month, which we're almost at the end of December. In January, I'll pull names from the videos like this, and 2 random people will be chosen to have a free session with me, and that we can then schedule over Discord. And yeah, so do that if you're interested. If not, I'll see you either on the next video or live over at Twitch. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you in 2024.